Okay, welcome to Project JFK CSI Dallas Presents The Journey, our January 2023 meeting. It's been a little bit since we've been with you guys, but we're past the holidays. And hey, we've got Super Bowl right around the corner. So, hey, go Chiefs. Playoffs are tomorrow, so I figure we better meet today because nobody's going to want to meet tomorrow. I got some great information that I want to share about something. It's going to be involving David Denton's group, the JFK Historical Group, and also Project JFK. And I'm going to give some details on that. I'll bring David on in a few minutes and have him speak about it. Hey, like I said, I just want to welcome everybody back. How's everybody been doing over the holidays? All right. Let's see here. Well, there's been a lot of stuff going on with the document releases. We touched on that at our conference in Dallas in November. Anybody that's with us today, glad that you were able to either join by Zoom or be there in person in Dallas. It was nice to be back in person instead of just, virtually, although we love virtual, but it's also nice to have a hybrid conference where we can kind of had that camaraderie of being back all together. And we had Neil Savate from the Dealey Plaza UK group that came over. He took part of being in our conference, so it was great to have Neil there. It was great to see everybody. So if I don't do individual names on this, but for everybody that came out to it, I want to thank you and thank you for your support. We will be having a conference in we basically took a raise of hands of the 80, 90 people we had there at the conference in Dallas, wanting to know if there would be interest in doing a conference in Memphis, Tennessee. And about half to 2/3 of the attendees put their hands up and spoke of wanting us to go down there and do a conference. And we've never been to Memphis, as far as Project JFK. JFK Historical Group hasn't been there either, but it's very important that we go back and look at history. We've been to Dallas several times, and we're going to be back there again for the 60th, this coming up November. But we want to do something that not only involves the research on JFK, RFK, also obviously Martin Luther King Jr., but this is also the 60th anniversary of the death of Medgar Evers. And for those of you that do not know who Medgar Evers was, he was basically the start of the civil rights movement. He was the first field secretary for the NAACP, and I'm going to be doing a presentation on him. He's one that we don't talk about a lot, and it's not because he's not important. He's very important, but he kind of gets glossed over, so to speak. And I want to make sure that we let the research community and the younger generation of researchers that will take part either in the conference in person or online to hear about his story. And like I say, I think it's great with we're just not that far from Mississippi, where the assassination took place at, by being there in Memphis. And I want to stop flapping my gums here. I want to bring David Denton on because he's got some information for us, but I'm also going to pull up the website while I've got it here. Give me just a sec. Let me pull up the website so we can give the details as we're speaking. Forgive me for not having this up already, but here we go. So let me put this on the screen here real quick, and then David, I'll have you come on and speak about it. But if you go to the jfkhistorical.com, or of course our website projectjfk.com, you'll find the information on both websites. And if you'll scroll down to here's our poster, Declassifying the Political Murders of the 1960s, a Reexamination of American History. It's where we've got reservations. There'll be a link popping up soon to get your hotel rooms. It's at the Crown Plaza, downtown Memphis. It's going to be April 13th through the 15th. And if you click on event details, It will give you the information. Have David go over this in just a second, but so far we have our speaker list posted. We also have more speakers that will be announced soon, such as Dr. John Newman, Ed Tatro, Ryan Jones, Larry Rivera, Casey Quinlan, Professor Mal Hyman, Professor David Denton, myself, Lisa Peace, and Phil Nelson. So let me bring David on. David, you with us? Hey, Dave, your microphone's on mute. Unmute, please.
Can you hear me now?
There we go. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, we're on mute. Okay. Yeah, thanks for having me on, Dave. Appreciate it. And and as Dave has discussed, the JFK Historical Group, along with Project JFK collaboration, also we're getting a good sponsorship from my college, Olney Central College, and the OCC Foundation to help sponsor the event down in Memphis. We're taking some college students down there. We're hoping to take about a dozen college students down. We've created some scholarships for them to be there. And we're obviously hoping that a lot of folks from the JFK and the, you know, just the overall research community can make it. Obviously, we're in Memphis. There's going to be more of an emphasis on the MLK assassination. It's at that time. And Ryan Jones, a historian from the National Civil Rights Museum, will be presenting. Also, we'll be giving a tour of the actual site, obviously the Lorraine Motel and the surrounding area. That'll be part of our, that's kind of built into our weekend. Memphis is a great town to go visit, even if you weren't going to a conference. There's some things going on there. I think Dave has negotiated with the Graceland for on Sunday after our conference is over to get a discount if folks want to go visit Graceland, which is probably the #1 tourist site in Memphis. We'll be in the downtown area. We love the hotel we got. Dave Knight did a great job negotiating, knocking it down, figuring out what our best options were as far as the site was concerned. It is downtown. It's close to the Civil Rights Museum and other things. There's a trolley where people can go around. If you've been to Memphis, if you haven't, it's a good town to visit. And also, we've got some great speakers. Dave already went over some of those. We will be looking at. In fact, Dave is going to be giving a presentation on the assassination of Medgar Evers. Of course, we'll be looking at the King situation. Ryan Jones will be speaking. We'll have others. We're going to have a panel on the MLK murder, but also looking and focusing on the declassified documents, new information, new revelations. Larry Rivera, I know he's in today. He's always great. We'll be coming up with has some new information as well. Ed Tatro, terrific speaker. Dr. John Newman will be our keynote on Saturday night. John's going to be his book came out and that's been discussed on the journey. Of course, Popoff's Mole. He's got something new coming out on the MLK assassination. He'll be talking about that and headlining that in Memphis. So, and of course, there are others. I'm sure names I didn't. Mal Hyman, always an outstanding speaker, professor from South Carolina. And we've got others as well. We'll be starting on Thursday evening with a couple presentations on the 13th of April, and then work through Friday. Have our tour of the National Civil Rights Museum on that day, and then all day on Saturday. It should be a great event. I encourage everybody to consider joining. We'll also have a Zoom option we'll be coming out with soon. Dave will be talking about, but you can't beat being there in person, getting a chance to communicate with like-minded people. We're always hoping to move the needle. I think I've spent a lot of time with the declassified documents. There's some things I've looked at. I know it's a little bit of a point of frustration that we don't get to see everything that we want to, but there's always more, and the chance to talk about those things. But again, we hope you get a chance to join us. It's April 13th and 15th, and our website, JFK Historical Group. You can go right there. I know a couple of you that I see up have already signed up, and appreciate others would be considering to do the same. But do you have any? I mentioned Dave, I had a little thing, an interesting phone call I had this week I'd like to talk about, but for just a couple minutes,
Yeah, real quick,
but
Dave, before we
before
do
I,
that, let's
any questions about the conference?
yeah, let's let everybody know what the cost is for the conference ticket, and also what the hotel price is, where we're staying out there at the Crown Plaza, Dave.
It's a 129 per night before taxes. I think with taxes, it'll be around 150 a night for the hotel rooms. I believe we are at we moved that around a little bit, haven't we, Dave? I think we're at 140 for registration. Is that right, Dave? Did I get that right? Or 130? It's going to be 135, $140 to register. We moved it around a bit, and that includes the cost of the tour at the Civil Rights Museum. So and then the Zoom, I'm not sure, we've talked about that. I think we're in the $40 range for that too, right, Dave?
Yeah, the price
that.
on the general admission tickets, they are 135. Of course, Eventbrite charges taxes and fees because you got to pay your taxes. That's what's got to be taken and sent
Right.
to the state of Tennessee. But you can also, if you decide you don't want to go through Eventbrite, you can PayPal directly to David Denton. You can always shoot him an email, or you can shoot me an email and I can get it to David. But either way, you're still gonna be paying the taxes and fees. We can't get around that. But the tickets are available. We are looking at doing a Zoom portion. The Zoom portion has not been announced just yet. We'll probably be announcing that within about 7 to 10 days. We'll have the link up for that for those that don't want to come in person. But hey, if you haven't been in person to a conference, especially come to a new state, new city in Memphis, we encourage you to do so. And also by having the camaraderie of not only during our events, like David said, we're going to be included in your ticket price is your tour of the Lorraine Hotel and the Civil Rights Museum there in Memphis. And we're looking at about a 3-hour tour with Ryan Jones, a great historian on MLK. So you'll be able to hear a lot more than probably what you would if you went on your own. He's a great speaker, great guy, and I'm glad he's going to be the one leading it for us. He's the curator down there at the Civil Rights Museum. And like David spoke a while ago, we are going to have it's not included in your ticket price, but if you want to go to Graceland Sunday, then we'll have your either your conference ID or your neck lanyard, something that will designate that you're from our group, and you save around $25 off your ticket price. There's only one package that they allow that on, but hey, you get a chance to go into the mansion, you get a chance to see his cars, his planes, and not on a morbid thought here, but Lisa Marie was just laid down next to her son there in the Memorial Gardens. So you get a chance to pay your respects to the late Lisa Marie Presley. But yeah, I want to turn it over to David real quick. He wants to talk about this information that he has, and I do want to throw a shout out to my second dad, Casey. It's his birthday today, so I see a lot of comments in the chat log. So happy birthday! I'm glad he can be with us. He's in good health. Happy birthday, Casey.
Happy birthday, man.
All right. Well, go ahead and tell us what you want to talk about, Dave, and then
I will make this quick because I know you've got other folks you're wanting to bring on, but I did get an interesting phone call this week. I'll see if I bring this up on the screen. Maybe you might be familiar. Can you guys see that? What I just brought on the screen?
Make sure you click share screen, Dave.
All right. I'm really good at this. You know that. All right. What happened here? I just came off of it. No, I kind of lost everything here. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you and we can see you. We just can't see your screen.
All right. Well, all right. I'm just trying to get to the right spot where I can hit the share. Well, anyway, I'll just go ahead and talk about it. I had a phone call from and you guys might be familiar with this guy. His name is Dr. Fred Whitehurst, or Frederick Whitehurst. He's considered to be one of the most significant whistleblowers in American history. He worked for the FBI as a chemist for a number of years. And again, you might be familiar with the story. After a number of years working for the FBI, he basically, blew the whistle on how they were handling evidence. As he saw firsthand and took notes on what was going on. Basically, how the FBI was distorting evidence, framing people, or deciding who to be guilty, who not, or at least mishandling, at worst, being deceptive about evidence, and eventually left the FBI, won a $1 million lawsuit against them as a result of his efforts. Literally hundreds of people were found innocent, were thought to be guilty. I think he even got somebody off death row. I talked to Ed Tatro, who had a contact with him in the 1990s and about similar things, but I don't think Whitehurst told him everything that I'm about to tell you. But Ed describes him as a national hero. I think he saved Vietnamese lives when he fought in the Vietnam War. Very interesting guy. I think he's 75 years old now. Was really sharp when I talked to him on the phone. But his story was that beyond all this other stuff, shortly before he left the FBI, a subordinate of his, and I think his name, the woman's name, who was an expert on paint analysis, in the whole chemistry area of the FBI, her name was Mary Tongle. A subordinate of his was given a bullet that apparently the FBI suggested was recovered from Dealey Plaza. This is the 1990s. It was found somewhere by a worker in a moss or something like that. And Whitehurst clearly told me that was her job to analyze. There was black paint on that bullet, and it was her job to analyze. And he said very specifically that obviously what you're thinking here is this is another bullet in Dealey Plaza, but that if the paint used on the limousine in those days was a very specific kind of paint. He described it to me in detail. I don't have all the details of it, but he believed that if that paint was that the same paint that was found on the bullet, that would be obvious proof of another shot in Dealey Plaza. Now, this was a time about that time when he left the FBI and went through all these things that I mentioned earlier. And so basically he never found out what the analysis was, that what happened to that bullet. I think Ed Tatro apparently in the 90s did some analysis, and he told me that he tried to do some Freedom Information Act. Nothing ever came of it. Apparently the bullet just disappeared. But the woman that apparently did the analysis left the FBI years later. He tracked her down. I think she's in Oregon. She's actually a chemistry professor still in Oregon, 62 years old. And, he kind of left the door open about it. He wanted, maybe somebody ought to talk to her. I said, yeah. I said, well, what would happen? He said, well, probably she might go to the FBI. But she may have had in her hands some very significant piece of evidence that the FBI had their hands on, and Whitehurst relayed that to me. And that's basically the story. I thought something I might be talking about more in Memphis that might be of interest to a lot of folks. So anybody have any questions about that? I don't want to take too much time up, but I thought it was a really interesting thing that this guy basically found me or got my name and decided it was something that needed to be advanced to some JFK researchers.
Well, Dave, I want to thank you for bringing that up. It's very important information that you just shared with us, and also the fact that possible another bullet. We've always, at least I know that me and Brian and Casey and several of you have always thought there was more than just three shots or 3 rounds, and this is this falls right in line with that. So yeah, I know that I looked up Whitehurst, and he's he's a very interesting guy. He's got a hell of a story, and what he's been involved with over the years.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I mean, he was a fascinating guy to talk to. I mean, I when I talked to Ed about it, Ed Tatro later, he even entertained the idea, maybe we should see if we can get this guy to be in Memphis. Yeah, we'll see about that. I mean, but he, had a fascinating story to tell. It was obviously he knew what he was talking about. And not surprising that the FBI may have had information on the JFK assassination that they made disappear, but that's kind of the way things have rolled. So, but anyway, that's my story. I kind of wanted to relay that to you, and that's really all I have, Dave. I want you to kind of continue with your program, but I wanted to bring that up. But just to
Yeah, it looks like Patrick's got his hand up there. He's waving in the camera. Hi, Patrick. Did you have something you want to add?
Hi, everybody. Just as a point of information, we understand that the limousine was midnight blue. Just as for the record.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whether I am not sure, what, he just said, he said something about a black paint. I mean, that could be a midnight blue, very close to dark. I mean, whether or not that's something obviously I didn't run back at him.
Sure.
I mean, obviously the FBI apparently had interest in that. It's that paint's origin in the doing some analysis of it. But again, what that analysis ended up being, I have no idea. Or
we'll see if we
it
can
would be
find
nice
out.
to talk to this woman about what happened if she would talk. But honestly, Whitehurst was skeptical that she would talk. I mean, he actually looked her up, found her, Googled her, even found a phone number on her. I said, okay, well, maybe somebody might want to talk to her, but I don't know how far you get with it.
She's the only person that's really worth talking to, and maybe John Orr might be a good person to talk to.
What was that? Now I didn't hear that.
I said she is the only person that would be worth talking to, because Whitehurst it's essentially hearsay.
Yeah, and he said that. He said this is hearsay, right?
John Orr, but I'm saying John Orr, who used to work at the Department of Justice, might be and he's worked with the FBI in the past. He might be a good person to contact her. There is ways of tracing paint. You have to find out who the manufacturer of the paint was, or who. I think it must have been, was a Ford, right? Or is it a Lincoln?
Yeah, I just recall again. You're talking about hearsay. Well, this is third person coming from me, but Whitehurst did talk about the fact that the FBI was aware. He was aware that the paint used on that limousine was a very specific kind of paint used in those days. Now, and I can't describe what it was.
No, but there's a way of looking that up, because we do that like with environmental law. We find paint in the ground. We try to figure out whose paint it is. There's certain fingerprints for paint, but you'd have to know what. I'm assuming this is a Lincoln, so Lincoln probably we'd have to find out what paints they used for the president's limo. But there's a process. But I'm just saying that the person that's really only worth talking to and speaking at a conference would be this woman. And it might be, we might want to see if John Orr wants to contact her, since she might be more willing to talk to him. But find out.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was very, very specific about that you will have to approach this woman the right way. I mean, and by who that might be. I'm glad you have somebody. I mean, she is teaching at Southern Oregon University. She is 62 years old. She is still an active professor.
Can you email me her information, and then I will send it to John Orr to see whether he might be willing to contact.
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, I feel like if I did it, I'd probably just be a shot in the dark. I mean, I think the right approach here is what's most important. So I would be glad to do that, and I'll get that information to you. Okay.
Okay, great.
All right. Well, hey, I want to while we got Larry up, I want to let everybody know he did take part in our conference in November. Of course, we had him on Skype or on Zoom, and the internet connection was pretty shoddy, so he was kind of it was bad. So, Larry, go ahead and let us know. I mean, let us know about the document release, what you've been working on. We haven't met in a few months, so I've got a good connection with you now, Larry. So go ahead and give us some information on
Hey,
that,
Dave,
please.
can I interrupt real quick here?
Yeah, go ahead, Casey.
Yeah, I just want to I want to pat Larry on the back. I'll tell you what, I've been to about 5 sites probably within the last month and a half, and my God, Larry, somebody ought to sign you because you look so good on all of these chat rooms and and plus that, I was totally impressed when you got up and led the group of Judge John Thunheim and Rex Bradford and Jefferson Morley, and that whole program, I think, was a great emphasis in trying to figure out what was going on. But then they released whatever they could on the documents. But a very thankful job for the work that you have done on that. And I know there's other people around that, but thank you very much for what you're doing here.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we have a lot of people working behind the scenes, and Jeff Morley's been very involved. And for those of you that you may have seen me on Tucker Carlson. If you haven't, you can just Google my name and Tucker Carlson and December 16th, and kind of discussed on that day what we thought about the document dump. It was not very satisfactory. It essentially, as Bill Simpich infamously said, it was old wine in new bottles. I used that line on Tucker Carlson. I forgot to give Bill attribution for that line. But most of the documents were just fewer redactions than before. We did learn some more information, and Joe Bax might have some more information than what I'm going to share. One of the things we learned is that the government, that we had one document that the government had been withholding for a long time was this document that indicated that we were had a partnership with the president of Mexico to have we had actually 2 wiretap programs going on. One that was independent, and the second one was one that was in conjunction with the Mexican president's office. And they, as a quid pro quo for allowing us to tap the Mexican embassy telephone lines, the Mexican government got copies of all of the tape recordings. So that actually raises the question as to whether the Mexican government still has the tapes of this person who allegedly was Oswald talking on the phone.
Larry,
Yeah.
if I can interrupt briefly, there's one slight thing. We always knew that the U.S. had independent as well as a joint program with the Mexican government. What was revealed was actually that the Mexicans had an independent program.
Right.
So now there's 3 programs, and this is a new likelihood for tapes.
Right. And they got it. It's the quid pro quo for letting us go into the joint program. And we also, Bill, realized there's a lot more surveillance than we thought, right?
Certainly more. And a lot of this stuff is now in the Mexican archives, and we've got to get serious in getting somebody who speaks Spanish to get that material from the Mexican archives.
Yeah, Jim Johnston has been trying to get that information, and he hasn't had much success at this point. Again, this might be something that we're going to need the State Department to help. And Judge Thunheim had indicated to us over lunch after the press conference that the State Department kind of like ran interference when they were trying to get information from the Mexican government in the 90s. He also had an interview set up with Castro, and Jesse Helms killed it. As he was the senator on a committee that I guess he had control of the money, and he said there was no way that a federal official was going to talk to Castro. So he killed that interview as well.
Funny, because the HSCA talked to Castro at length
Yes,
and
yes,
had a great conversation.
yeah, but he,
That's what Jesse didn't want.
right, exactly, exactly. So we, you know, so we have a little more information about that. And then I guess we've also, again, Bill, you're probably a better person to talk about this. We've learned that the CIA, in fact, did ask the Exxon, they did try to do an investigation, at least the weekend of the assassination in Miami. It was this Heath memo that was now redacted in full, I guess. And we finally learned who this person was that wrote this memo in 77, in March of 77. The way it's drafted, it looks like he had been asked to talk about his work, because the memo isn't written like with an introduction. It's just basically goes right into what he did. And I suspect it was given to either Tannenbaum or Sprague because of the timing. It basically explains the efforts that he made. He was involved in that weekend when they were reaching out to the exiles. And Bill, remind me, I think someone in the CIA had denied that they had ever done any investigation out of Miami.
Shackley had denied it in a deposition.
Right. And so now this shows that he was lying.
It certainly seems like it's a lie. It's hard to believe Shackley wouldn't have known.
Right. And Shackley's the kind of guy. And the report indicated that this person, Heath, there were situation reports that were generated every month. And he had seen situation reports in this guy's McLean's office in 1973. And of course, there are no situation reports that have been shared. And he says that situation reports would have been prepared from November to March of 64. And again, we don't have these. So that's, another evidence of record maybe being destroyed.
So if you go to the Heath, Robert Heath site on Mary Farrell under the pseudonyms, or Gordon Howlett was his pseudo, and you can read more about it. There's a lot of material there. It's well documented now that they did an investigation on the Cuban exiles, and we now know who wrote it.
Right. So we're in a unique spot in our country's history right now. Those of us who were too young to participate, either as lawyers or professionals, on the church committee, or even on this House Select Assassinations Committee, classification of records is a big issue now, obviously. And I think we're going to be able to we're trying to use this as a tool to get progress on the JFK records. And it allows us to go away from conspiracy towards this whole issue about classification, overclassification, and how if you can't declassify records from 60 years ago, how are you going to declassify records from 10 years ago or 25 years ago? So we are, as a group, this is independent of the lawsuit, we're trying to reach out to both the Senate and the House. Now, the House, Tucker Carlson, the reason that I went on Tucker Carlson was because he has deep contacts with the Oversight Committee chair. And we're trying to see if that will lead. In fact, Judge Tunheim is in touch with the Oversight Committee as well, trying to get them to hold a hearing on the failure of the Biden administration to comply with the JFK Records Act. We think that this release did not comply with the law. We can't go into too much detail because we're obviously under litigation right now. But there is both a oversight committee in the House that Steve Comer is the chair of. Jamie Raskin from the Democrat from Maryland is the ranking member, the most senior Democrat, and we have connection into his office. So we're going to try to see if the oversight committee might want to hold a hearing on this in connection with the whole issue about classification. We're going to try to time this for Sunshine Week. Last year, the Senate Homeland Security Committee, which is chaired by Gary Peters from Michigan, actually had a hearing during Sunshine Week on the problem of president and federal record classification. So in addition to reaching out to the House and, some people are a little squeamish about that because of who's running the House right now and who the chairs are of both the Oversight Committee and this new Weaponization Committee that some have called the New Church Committee. And we're trying to see if they want to have, if they're going to call it a church committee, will they have a new Gary Hart and Richard Swiker committee as part of that? But I think we also need to look at the Senate Homeland Security Committee, which is chaired by Gary Peters. And if any of you have senators that sit on that committee, I would ask you to write them and see if they would ask them to hold a hearing during Sunshine Week on the JFK Records Act. There's also the Intelligence Committee, which typically doesn't get involved with the JFK Records Act, but since we're talking about classification, it looks like they're going to be getting involved with classification. Maybe that might be, again, something we could sort of hitch our wagon to. And I forgot who the chair of that committee is, but that committee, you can look up the committee on the Senate's website. And if you have any senators sitting on that committee, also be a good thing to do.
Larry, I was wondering if you might want to elucidate what is the PIDB, which is strongly in favor of reining in overclassification.
Yeah, the Public Interest Declassification Board is an advisory committee to the president, and they have in the past written to the President Biden, asking him to release the records, the JFK records, to the fullest extent of the law. The chair of that committee is very interested in the Kennedy assassination. So, it's an advisory committee. It has no power, but we're hoping again that, we can get them, mobilize them. Now they have a couple of board members who we've been told have been, they view the Kennedy assassination as a third rail topic that they don't want to touch, which is why their letters have always been a little ambiguous. They haven't come out really strongly. They've said, to the extent of the law or something like that. But that's another platform that possibly can be used. So, we're in a unique moment in American history right now, and that we may be able to get some traction. So those of you who are on the call, check your senators and representatives. And if you live in Massachusetts, McGovern is a person that wrote the president, Cohen from Tennessee, and he's from the Memphis area, I believe. He has had a number of Congress people add on to his letter to the president. He's written 3 letters, 2 to the president and 1 to the PIDB. So Eshu is another one from California, Anna Eshu. So Eshu, McGovern, Cohen from Tennessee. So those are some of the Congress people that are interested. And Joe just indicated that, the PIDB had a 2-day conference on classification at the LBJ library. I'm not sure if anything, relevant came out of that of interest to this group. But Gary Stearns, who's the general counsel to NARA, is going to be testifying before Congress on the 31st. National Archives is taking an interesting position in an interview with Russ Baker, the operating officer of NARA, indicated that they don't have the ability. It's not within their mission to try to find records. In fact, there's an article in the Times today about that as well, that the archives is very passive when it comes to records. They can ask for them, like they did last week, asking living presidents, but they don't really, aggressively go out and look for records. Even though they said under the JFK Records Act, in the preamble to the regulations that they issued in 2000, that they were the successor in function to the ARB.
And this is where the fight, in my view, is really going to be joined, is right. What is NARA's role in the future going to be? They're going to say they need money, money, money. We say, maybe you need money, but you already got the power.
Right, right. Now, they did say in their press release, and Bill and I received an email which clarified this, that they're going to be reaching out to the Department of Justice to try to get the Marcello tapes unsealed. So Carlos Marcello, as part of the Camtex sting, was recorded while he was in his jail cell in the 80s. And supposedly he said that he knew Oswald and that he had planned the assassination. Whenever someone says something like that, it's important to hear the way they say it, not just read the words. So there are tapes of him, that have been sealed since the 80s. And Department NARA did say they're going to try to get the Department of Justice to try to release those tapes. So,
parenthetically, I wanted to make a request. I've been doing a lot of research on Richard Kane, who I think most people know was Giancana's second in command and a Chicago cop and worked with the CIA.
It was Giancana's second in command.
Right,
Yeah.
right. In any case, Kane is of great interest to me. I've been writing about him all week. And what's so interesting is that he was part of the Special Services Unit in Chicago. And Pat Ganaway and that crowd ran the Special Services Unit in Dallas. And it looks like Mickey Capps, who worked with David Morales and all, was a source for the Special Services in New York. The Special Services in New York is important. I'm asking Dan Storper if he could point me towards the people doing the research on Special Services in New York. They were the ones deeply implicated in the Malcolm X killing, and has been described as the most political police intelligence unit in history. They've investigated everybody. I know they've got archives out there, but I want somebody who's got history with the archives, because I think there's a lot of good Kennedy stuff in those archives. So Dan, if you could help me on that, that would be great.
Yeah, just shoot me an email.
Will do.
I'm trying to figure out how to show my face again.
Maybe it's better this way.
Yeah, maybe. I also want to mention just quickly, David, and about Medgar Evers. If you also shoot me an email, I've got a bunch of information based on research into Medgar Evers that I will share with you.
Absolutely, Dan. I'll be sure to send you an email. And real quick, I wanted to interject and say, welcome back, Bill. It's been a long time. I'm glad you're back with us. You look great.
Oh, thank you.
And always great information. Larry, can you tell us about what's going to happen possibly this summer? I mean, we were on a 6-month cycle of when they're going to go back and look at the documents, see if they're going to release anything else. And I mean, so far they made that statement. I haven't heard anything. What do you know about that, Larry? Are they going to reevaluate what's left in the archives and then make a decision?
So there are records that were withheld in full still. They claim it's 4,000 records. Of course, the problem is there are records that are not in the collection that are assassination records, and that's as much about this issue but for the records that are in the collection, the agencies are supposed to notify whose records they are supposed to notify the National Archives by, I think, May 1st, if they want to continue to hold them past June 30th. Now, to me, this is really it's a fantasy deadline, because what could possibly happen between December 15th and May that would suddenly let these documents be released, these 60-year-old documents? But they're supposed to notify the National Archives by May 1st. They have until May 23rd, I believe, to negotiate with the National Archives. And then if they can't reach an agreement, they're supposed to elevate it to the president. And I forgot if it's the 15th or the 30th, but we're supposed to get another order from the president in June. So I think they were still claiming that there were still delays because of the pandemic. That was one of the rationales for delaying this even further. So we are hoping, as we get closer to that date, either Sunshine Week or maybe in April, maybe we get some more media attention to sort of focus on this. And obviously, I know you guys are interested in the lawsuit. We really can't talk about a lot. Just to, we anticipate we're going to get a motion to dismiss from the government in the next month or so. And then once you get past that motion practice, there'll be a meeting with the judge, and then we may proceed to the merits of the case. But there won't be. Bill, you want to say anything else?
No, I think you said it all there. They did tell us they're going to follow a motion to dismiss, which we expect in a couple of weeks. But we're going to follow the DOJ and speak through our pleadings, so we won't start a rumor mill.
Right. So I know you guys are all anxious about it, but and we have lots of, we meet every week. We have lots of things we are thinking about, and I know some people have thoughts about what we can or cannot do, and a lawsuit sometimes is a tool. So sometimes you can win by not actually having to get an opinion in the court. So this is, we are on top of all the issues that people have been talking about. And if you have any, ideas, let us know. Bill, do you want to mention anything about records that we might want to ask for?
Well, there's so many. Let me put it this way. We want everything. We want the mob stuff. We want the CIA stuff, Army intelligence, ONI. There's nothing we don't want. So if you've got good ideas of where you think there's fertile areas, not dead end areas, let us know, because that's what we want to focus on.
Do we let you know here or email you those?
Either way is fine.
And because, if you look at the final report, and the final report of the ARB is still worth reading, even, these 25, 30 years later, there were outstanding search requests that were never followed. The ARB ran out of business, but their mission was not over, right? They just ran out of funding. Congress wouldn't renew their budget, but there's still outstanding search requests that were not made, were not fulfilled. And so we know there are records out there. And then from what we've learned in the last, 30 years or so, there are records that even the ARB didn't know about. And there's different places where records may be.
I was recently told that there are boxes and boxes of them from the ARB at the Clinton Library.
Yes, there's about 100 boxes of Clinton files, so there's probably some briefing in there. And so not all the memos from the ARB are online, but there's 100 boxes. If you go to the Clinton Library, in fact, there are some stuff online, but a lot of boxes have not been scanned yet. So, so there may be ARB details there. I mean, they were really scrambling the last 6 to 9 months because they were losing staff and they were running out of time. And so they were cutting all kinds of expedited deals with the agencies. And they were basically built on good faith. And the National Archives has never really followed up with those. If someone wanted to give them records, that was fine. But they never really pursued the outstanding requests. So,
and one exciting development in all this is that they, besides telling us they're going to seek the Marcello documents, they also said they are going to be scanning documents, older documents online, which is the heart of the monster in many respects, because the archives has far more documents that are even on Mary Farrell. And so I'm much more excited about the digitization of new documents than I am, frankly, about the last of whatever they've got left in the hopper for now. I'm also more excited about the possibility of getting new documents. So we're going to try to change the story from focusing on this last little drab of documents to the whole vast archive that we should have as American citizens.
Yeah, because until they do this, until they digitize things, the law, American people, right now, the way this current state of collection, it does not achieve the goals of the statute. It is very difficult for people to figure out what's there. And
Even when you go to the archives, it's hard. They have a hard time finding it.
Yeah,
It's really awful.
It's like you got to know what to ask for, and how do you know what not to ask for? Like, I want my father's film from behind the grassy knoll. I want his 201 file. I've got some of his Navy intelligence stuff, but who knows to ask for his stuff?
Right. A lot of these people aren't even trained well enough to find it.
Well,
It's a disaster.
one thing I want to throw out there, it's just like when me and Brian were working on the Dick Russell collection, and I've stated it ever since I started the Prodigy JFK website. I wanted us to become the central hub for information, and in particular documents, because think of it as silos. And I've spoken to younger generation, my kids, their friends, and so on. Classified documents have been in the news, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because it's really putting a light on how classified documents are being handled. Are they locked in a closet, a cabinet, a box in a crapper? Who knows where the hell these documents are at? So it's important to figure out, okay, I know one of the friends of my son, he goes, well, what about all the JFK documents? Does that mean that they're someplace else? I said, who knows where the documents are actually at, and are they classified or are they not classified? Maybe that's why it's taken us 60 years to get the information. We don't know where some of the stuff is at. And like Larry said a while ago, just because it's in their collection at NARA doesn't mean that there's still documents out there.
The collection does not represent the universe. And
exactly.
And it's
absolutely not.
And it's not just the mishandling of documents, it's the classification of documents. And we know that the executive branch, look, what happened with Biden and Pence goes towards more it's obviously that records are mishandled. People bring things home to look at them overnight, and they come back, they may forget. I mean, there have been records discovered in someone's desk, right? The person had their own working file. So the first problem is the problem of classification. And we know that the Warren Commission records were originally improperly classified. They had no authority to classify. And now we have 6-year records that are still being classified. The next step is they shouldn't be declassified, but then even those records that are declassified or classified, they're being mishandled. And
Yes.
It's usually the executive branch, because Congress has very strict rules. I mean, if you read there's 2 articles in today's Times about this, how Congress has such stringent rules. If they're going to look, I mean, when there's a senator who gets a classified document, it's brought to his office in a pouch that's sealed. If he has a staffer in his office, he cannot discuss, he has to read the document silently. He's not allowed even to discuss it with his staffer because it's classified. And when he's finished reading, he gives it back. So you don't see this problem much in Congress, but it's the executive branch which has been very lax. And people take documents home. It's natural. It's homework, right?
Right. Well,
So,
that's
the other thing. So David, when you guys go through these documents, and this goes for anyone, I'm not anywhere near the research that you guys are on this. I'm the lawyer that's taking the information and helping Bill, and but if you guys see something in a document that suggests in context a direction to go for another document, that's what historians do. And you guys see that, let us know, because sometimes the documents refer to other things that may not be in the collection. So, it isn't just what you're looking at in the silo, it's what are they saying? So for example, with this Heath memo, he was talking about these situation reports. Well, where are they? They once were in 1973 in some guy's office. Who knows where they went? We also learned that he was on probation because he didn't file his monthly financial accounting reports. Okay, that raised a question about Joe Anides. Where are his financial accounting reports? Was he not punished? Was he not filing them? So those are the kind of things when you read a document, it's like it just opens up other paths. So whenever you look at a document, see if it suggests there's something else, let us know, because as Bill said, we're focusing on the big universe. Whatever is left in the collection, Tunheim's seen them all, and there's probably names in, names and sources, but it's the documents that are not in the collection that we think are really important.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. If you find something like that, either get a hold of Bill or Larry or us, so we can, create a connection to them. Or that's the reason why it's so important to have these meetings that we're doing today. And I want to thank everybody in attendance, because it's not just wait at conference time and then try to, have an interaction with one person. They may have 20 people wanting to interact with that one person. By the time you get there, it's your turn. Things get missed. They get forgotten.
David, one thing, and I'm glad Joe's on the phone, maybe he can help elucidate. So there was a dump of documents from the NSA. And they had RIF numbers, but there were no documents apparently in the collection. Now, suddenly these documents appeared. Now, was it previously, were they always there, but they somehow NARA made a mistake? Or were they never turned over to NARA? Like, suddenly we have these documents that they were not only just unredacted, they hadn't been there. And by the way, and again, I don't know how new this is, but we learned they unredacted the names of some countries. We know that this in April of '63, Angleton was concerned that the Cubans were exporting, they were training subversives and exporting them into Central and South America to undermine some countries like Peru. And Angleton was concerned about the way the Cubans were doing this. They were playing games with their embassy in Mexico City so that these people couldn't be traced. And when I read that, I immediately said, gee, maybe that's what Oswald's mission was, to go in there and see how they would handle him,
Oh yeah, that's what I thought all along.
And that might explain, what Oswald was doing there. But now we know that, Angleton was concerned about this. And in April '63, counterintelligence. Bill, I don't know how much of this we previously knew.
We keep learning little tiny pieces, but it's funny how we're really in dribs and drabs until I think there will be a few nuggets at the end, but they're really holding them back. They're trying to kill our desire. The one thing I deduced that I thought was important in the last couple of years was this guy named Al Amori, who worked with Bill Harvey, and Al Amori's still alive. Jeff Morley just called him up the other day and he got hung up on. Al tried to kill the Nicaraguan triumvirate people in the 1980s. And Al also worked with Bill Harvey in Task Force W in 1962. So Al's a piece of shit. And Al's the kind of guy that you want to know a lot more about. So, but you get these, they finally, I caught his name a couple of years ago and I put it out there on the internet, but now a bunch of documents dropped, and it might have been because we publicized it. Once something's blown, they usually throw up their hands and give up. So I've been more inclined to put things out rather than hold them back.
Yeah, and we think that
it's a two-way street.
Yeah, we think that the lawsuit may have helped, with more documents getting released than they normally would. I think they were.
It's hard to prove it.
Yeah, I mean, for example, the day of the release, I don't know how many of you know this, but the CIA had talking points, which they called a private press conference to the New York Times, the Washington Post, and NBC. They're reliable media, and they gave them the talking points. It was just those three media platforms. But we think that they were maybe taken by surprise, because last time this happened, there wasn't a lawsuit filed, there wasn't an outroar like this time around. So we're thinking maybe we got a little better result, but we didn't still get the result we wanted.
Well, I say, as researchers, if we didn't have you, Larry and Bill, on the legal side of it,
and Patrick has done a lot of good work as well.
And Patrick and too. I mean, it's you guys that are helping get them to, on a legal basis, which is what we've got to use to get what we want. And there are documents, we should be able to see them, especially after 60 damn years. So I want to say personally, from our group and probably everybody here in attendance, thank you for the hard work that you guys are doing. It's very necessary, and without you, where the hell would we be? So,
and it goes right back to everybody here. Thank you, because we have to do this as a group. We can't do this alone.
Right. We need your help because we don't, sometimes know what to look for. And, when we're describing documents we're looking for, that's where you guys come in, because you can point us and look, these records, the art.
Yeah, but what we need are priorities.
Yeah.
That's what we're always discussing in our group. What's number one? What's number two?
Right.
What's first level? What's second level? Because all of it's important.
Absolutely. So yeah, anybody that wants to find something in particular, reach out to Bill and Larry, Patrick, reach out to them and say, this is what I'm looking for. And that way they can put it on their agenda and pinpoint, and that'll get the information out. We'll lead on to the next one. So,
Yeah, and please try to consolidate it. One request, well thought out is better than 10 emails. Boom, boom, boom.
Oh, please. Yeah.
Can I say something here?
go ahead, Larry.
Yeah, I'm glad Bill is today in this meeting. And I've said so many times that state secrets is a gem, and what you're talking about was that mole hunt that Angleton was and how they served those marked cards, which were the way that Bill explains in his book, which were set on, it was a trap, and then that's where Egger and Jane Roman come in later on, and how that information was transmitted because it was part of Angleton's mole hunt. But one of the main things that I've been looking at is, and it's very simple, and you're asking for items that might have a priority. I think Lee Oswald's passport that he renewed on 24 June 1963 and was given to him the next day. Okay, the same day that Orestes Pena was in the same office. Coincidentally, they both renewed their passports on that day.
I think it's 63, Larry, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that's important.
Have you ever seen? It's the passport number that was used on the supposed visa to go to Cuba that supposedly Sylvia Duran filled out for him and put those photos that he went and came back and brought, and everything. We all know that story, but and we all know that CE 946 is the old passport, the one that he used to Russia, that he, and if I may grab the screen here real quick. Okay.
Well, good point, Larry. You're saying you've never seen the new 63 passport, have you?
Oh, I have it.
You have it. What does it look like?
I found it.
It's of import. I don't think I've seen it. I do know that he showed the old passport supposedly on the bus because it's got the Russian data in it.
That's right. And that's what I'm going to show you now. Okay. This is the version that I found on the internet. This is the one that's in CE 946. As you can see, it's all beat up, but this one isn't. And it seems like it might have been that they might have done that maybe on purpose. So this is what you see. You find it at the National Archives in Commission Exhibit 946. Again, this is from 946, but this is a copy that I found on the internet, pristine in color, okay, of the old passport, okay, 1959. This is the one that he renews, like I said, on June 24th, 1963.
Yeah, and you see there, Larry, it says Los Angeles, California.
That's right.
But if you, when you read the descriptions about it, it says San Francisco. How did they make a mistake like that? That's a marked card when they make that kind of mistake.
That's the photograph that he used. Okay, and then I just did a overlays just to make sure that it was the same guy. It is the same guy. Okay, and this is the canceled old passport. Okay,
shipping export agent, just like James Bond.
1733242, canceled upon expiration renewal of 24 June 1963. Okay, perfect. This is the version of the Warren Commission. Okay, and these are almost pristine pages from that passport that I found, and I'm going to tell you in a minute where I found them, including the visa where they added June onto the passport. Okay, so that she could travel with Lee and Marina. Okay, now the passport book or folder was found supposedly in his effects on 22 November. Okay, and we have this other document that calls it a passport folder 22 November. Okay, but it isn't until Tuesday, 26 November, that our good friend Warren DeBrew signs for the evidence and is found at his rooming house. Okay, and it included both passports. The passports were not found at Ruth Payne's house or garage or whatever you want to call it. All right, this is where the passports were found, both of them. Now, this is the original form, okay, that was used to generate that passport. Again, and this is a color version. Okay.
Can you show us the 63 passport again, Larry? If you
It's coming up. It's
coming up.
I haven't
Thank
shown it yet. I know that. I'm dying. You're dying to see that.
I am.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And John Armstrong astutely notes, the mistakes, in the name of the mother and father and the dates of birth. Okay. And that he wasn't intending to go to Mexico or Cuba.
Right.
All right. So we have all that. And here it is. And where I found it, okay, was this is the story about this. The Dallas PD took pictures of these passports before they gave them to the FBI. Okay. Now I had to digitally process these because they were, pretty drabby looking, but I was able to extract this. And right here, the limitations for travel, Cuba, of course, where the rubber stamp, so you could not use this passport to travel to Cuba.
This is standard language, right, from that time?
Yeah, and nobody. That's why you do not see people going to Mexico to go. It just never did not happen. And here is the other receipt for the second passport. Both of these were received by the FBI. So this is where the chain of custody ends. You want to see that again? Here.
June 25th, 63. Issue date.
I'll send this to you, Bill. I'll send you an email with all the information.
Thank you. I'm taking pictures now.
You guys are the first ones to see it, and here is the page that says, that you cannot 4 and 5. These are the limitations to travel on that passport.
And where did you find this?
At the Texas Historical
State History Portal?
Yeah. Okay. And of course, Sylvia Marr, when she realized that you couldn't use a passport like this, she said, such permissions is normally withheld from Americans with passports not valid for Cuba. That is why Americans who defied the ban and visit Cuba had to go through way of the Eastern Bloc there.
Or Mexico City.
Mexico City, according to the information here, should have never honored that type of passport because it was not valid for travel to Cuba.
And
right. You go, the way you would do it is you take the passport, go to Mexico City, then you get a visa to go to Cuba.
But if you did not have a valid passport, you cannot get past this step. And here, let me fast forward. This is how he went to Cuba, of course, with a tourist visa, which did not require a photo ID. They used supposedly acta de nacimiento, which is a birth certificate, okay, with very signatures that look bogus to me. And here it is, D092526. This is the passport number that was given in Cuba for the visa. All right.
So, and one of the issues that Angleton was concerned about was that the way the Cuban embassy in Mexico City, they were using like paper substitutes when they would stamp things so that there'd be nothing on the passport showing.
Oh, but it gets better. It gets better. It gets better. The CIA, in September, goes through a trash picking operation because they could not verify, they could not confirm that the visa was genuine. And I'm going to show you that here. Of course, the two
but
copies.
Larry, you're saying this is not in the collection.
That passport is not
in the JFK collection.
All this is, okay, but as you can see, these are
completely
dissimilar.
The June 1963 passport, you saying is not in the JFK collection?
That's one that you have to go after. You guys.
No, I'm asking. I was trying to confirm that.
I will give you the where the chain of evidence ended, where Warren DeBrew signed for it, and after that, it's gone. All right.
All right.
So these are the two of the copies of the visa. These visas used to come in six sextuplet. The only two copies exist, and you can see that these are not the same signature. If you do an overlay here and do an animated overlay one on top of the other, you can see that they're not even close.
That was my next question, was whether this had been never examined for by the handwriting expert.
Well, I am the handwriting expert.
No. Whether the government,
of course not. No, in fact,
they avoided this, is what he's saying.
I
There's
saw
a
a report
problem.
that confirmed. I saw a report that confirmed that it was the same signature. I don't know what the hell they were looking at.
No, you're saying that they said that they looked at the signature for the 1963 passport and they said it was his signature?
No, no. What I'm talking about here is the visa that he
Visa.
supposedly used in Mexico City to supposedly go to Cuba and then supposedly go to the Soviet Union.
Now,
Okay,
is the visa in the collection?
Yeah. Well, these are the only copies that survive.
Okay.
You might want to go after that. Now, I wanted to show.
Larry, I'm not clear. I know you said the passport's not in the collection. Is the
Right.
visa in the collection?
Yeah, the visas are in the collection.
Okay.
Now, check this one out. Request station cable its opinion authenticity of visa application. Okay, and we're talking about September, okay, of 64. Now they want to find blanks for comparison and possible authentication. Does stationery of Havana's response check out with any available exemplars? And here's another one that they keep, that they have serious doubts about that whole visa, those documents that supposedly show Lee Oswald soliciting a visa to go to Cuba, something that at that time was impossible because your passport would not allow for that. Station does not have exemplars, okay, to compare. And guess who's the one that's charged and assigned to go and get these samples of a visa application? This guy, you guys know who this guy is, all right?
Box Garden Hen House.
Yeah, Michael Choden was his, and I'm sure Bill knows about this. Michael Choden was one of his aliases, pseudonyms, all right? And here again, they're trying to find this guy, Litaint, 2 fines, and they go send them, okay? And Little Mill 9, who was the superstar mole in the Cuban consulate, I've written a whole chapter on that guy, and they wouldn't want him to get involved, but this is what they fished out of the trash. Okay, this is like a packing list. So what they want to do with this is go and compare with the visa application that I showed you earlier. Okay, now I have something because I might want to, since I'm on this, and we found a lot of new information on Charlotte Zerung Bustos, all right, and the coincidence of the timing of her marriage, okay, and which conveniently changed her last name and her identity. So I went through, remember I showed you guys maybe a couple of years ago, the video of the wedding of Win Scott in Mexico City.
Yeah, Phillips is there.
Yeah, Phillips is right here, okay? But look at the sequence here. You got Charlotte Bustos, I believe this is Ann Goodpasture, and they had like a greeting line, okay? And you've got Adolfo Mateos is escorting Win Scott, okay? And right behind him, you've got right here, Gustavo Diaz Ordaz, who succeeded Adolfo Lopez Mateos, escorting the bride, okay? And here's Atlee Phillips. And this fellow right here is Thomas Mann. Who is,
that old dirtbag.
Yeah. So all of these people, and this is Charlotte Bustos. You can see the Aryan looks. She was German of German extraction from Dayton, Ohio. Her story, and Bill, we got to talk about this because a lot of people think that Ann Goodpasture was in charge of things down there. This woman,
Charlotte was uptown. She was in DC, I do believe.
No, well, that's the thing. She would go back and forth on tourist and TDYs and tourist visas, which made it look like she was in Washington, D.C., but she really lived in Mexico City with her husband, Caesar, who is in that picture right there. Here she is saying something to Adolfo Lopez Mateos, the president at the time, probably saying into his ear, look, I need to renew my tourist visa. I hope we don't have any problems with that, and here she is. Gorgeous looking woman right here. This is and the pearls. She had an affinity for pearls, and this is her husband of 1 year, okay, Cesar Bustos. He was a university professor there in Mexico City, okay? And so, just to give you guys, and that's why, and they released a whole tranche of documents on Charlotte, and I think we need, and a lot of the documents show her as the case officer for both Lee Envoy and Lee MT. All right.
Well, I've always been worried about Charlotte because she's on the twin cables.
That's
of
right.
October 10th.
That's right.
She's in both of them. And
That's
one
right.
set goes to one level of the intelligence agencies on the top, and the other one goes to the bottom. They've got different information, and I think it's another mole hunt.
That's right. And Michael Goldsmith, and when he had her for the deposition, he hammered on her, why explain to me, how you went and notified the ONI, the FBI, the CIA, I mean, not the CIA, but INS and everything, and do you remember receiving any replies from any of those agencies? No, of course not. In her HSCA testimony, she doesn't even know where she was on 22 November. She's the one that's keeping the secrets big time. I think she's probably, I don't know if she's still alive, probably 98 or 97, like that, something like that. No, 1929. So you figured out. In her
She's
90s.
about 93. I haven't seen an obit for her yet, but I haven't looked hard either.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that with all these new documents on her, we need to, raise her, and she was involved in CI, CE, you name it. The same operations that David Sanchez Morales was operating out of Miami. She was operating in Mexico City. In
Well,
fact,
she might be alive. Mickey Caps is still alive, it looks like.
Yeah.
There's no obit for him. There's no
Yeah.
obit for Alan Maury.
and
We
she's
got a
super-
few more years to smoke these people out, and
Yeah,
then they're gone.
Look at her 201. It's incredible. She goes from a GS2 to a GS11 in 5 years. Within a couple more years, she's a 13. And guess what? You know where she ends up as chief of station? And this one just came out the other day in December. Yes. I don't know of any woman who's ever been promoted to chief of station in the CIA ever, at least in the 60s, 70s, back in those days, with the misogynistic ideas, and attitudes of, military and intelligence. And she ends up chief of station in Trinidad and Tobago in 1973.
I saw that. And she was multilingual. I mean, she spoke Spanish.
That's right.
Most of these people didn't. Period.
But look at the timing. You have all these all this talk about church committee and Rockefeller, and then they send her to Trinidad and they send the brew to South America, Brazil, and to knock around, South America for so many years, hello,
That's right. I'm with you.
Just a quick question for Larry. Larry, we saw these wedding pictures, I guess, last year, whenever and we surmised
I showed the entire video. Yeah.
Right. And we surmised that the man in the background was Phillips, but that last picture where you show the back of her neck and you commented about the pearls, my first take on that is that man is Phillips. Do you have a photo of the wedding with her supposed husband and the man that we think is Phillips?
No.
Both
There are no photos of Cesar Bustos at all. That is, the guy, you can see he's got that Argentinian look. He was Argentinian, more than 6 feet tall, and I'm pretty sure
my take was that was Phillips. That last
I'm not
picture.
going to argue with that. You can have your opinion, but I'm pretty sure, I'm 99.9% sure that Cesar Bustos.
Okay, well, he looks very much like the man in the other photos as you went through the series, but
Right.
my only question was there a picture of the wedding with the two of them somewhere in the same photo?
That's all you get, the background, and you're lucky you're getting that.
Okay.
Well, Larry, I want to say excellent research.
Yeah.
We did that video unveil. I think it was May or June of last year. So
Yeah.
but yeah,
we were always focusing on the Mexicans. We didn't focus on the background of people that, and you can see, the reception, the greeting line and everything. And they're all there.
absolutely.
I just want to throw in one quick comment, David. I've been in a habit for a long time. I watch Tucker late at night on my exercise bike, and I just fast forward through the commercials. He takes no prisoners. He goes after the Democrats and the Biden administration, but he nails Republicans to the wall nonstop too. So it's a very interesting show, but I don't know where his orbit crossed with Bobby Kennedy Jr., but it was back during the pandemic, because Bobby's been very outspoken about the vaccines and all of that. But Bobby's of the faction within the Kennedy family who thinks the CIA and the FBI were all in cahoots on the assassination, both of his uncle and his dad. Ethel is the other side of the family that basically says it's, hey, we're just not going there. But Larry, you may know more about the background of that. But anyway, my point is, Since the anniversary of the assassination in November, Tucker pounds on this issue, the CIA's involvement. What are they covering up? And he does it more than once a week, right till today. He made a big presentation around the assassination anniversary in November, had Larry on in December. Larry, you look very dapper in that show too. I mean, I was really impressed. But what I'm getting at is we have fertile ground here. We really have fertile ground because millions of people watch that show, and he is pounding the drum on this nonstop every week. And I think there's a large portion of the population, based on what went on in the pandemic, the media control at Twitter, which mirrors Operation Mockingbird. I think that word came out of Tucker's mouth once or twice in the last few months. So we have very fertile ground here. Things are ripe for us right now to really keep beating on this and maybe get some traction and maybe have some success.
Well, that's why, I mean, before I agreed to go on the air, I had several conversations with his producer to make sure that this is just not a politicalization stuff. I had certain ground rules for me to be allowed to go on, but he's generally interested in the topic where, I still, I've tried to get a little more information about his alleged source, like not to identify, but like, where is his document? Is it in the collection? Is it outside the collection? And I'm working on trying to get some information. I'm not sure there is a source, or if the source, Jeff thinks it's Pompeo, that Tucker did a very creative way of giving him plausible deniability by saying that he didn't return his calls. Some think it could be Roger Stone, others think it could be Trump. So, but I do agree that, now that the Republicans are in charge of the House, Tucker could be a valuable tool, but we can't forget about the Democrats in the Senate. And I think the Senate would have a lot more respectability across the country if they did anything. But if they don't, we may have to, do something in the House.
All right. Well, excellent information. And real quick, I wanted to mention something that just popped in my head. We'll take a little technology break here for a second. At the November conference we did in Dallas, me and Larry had been working on something, and I don't know if how many of you that are in the audience today was there in Dallas. I did talk about it on the Zoom portion too. We have done a 3D print of the Harper fragment.
Really?
Yes, we have, and it is as close to. I know Larry's been working on some tweaks. I have been as well, and we're going to try to do another print to have for Memphis, and that way. And each time I make a print, I always have something to compare to. But Larry's showing it up in his screen. Actually, yeah, he's got it in his screen. That's the 3D print of it. Larry, turn your backdrop off for just a second. We can see it better.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Up, down.
There you go.
Oh, so you printed it out, 3D print?
Yes. I took Larry's. Here, I'll shut up for a minute. Larry, say something. You can have the camera back real quick.
All right. Hello. All right. This is. David had to tweak this because it's mostly the outer portion. Okay, the Harper fragment has two portions, the inner and the outer, which show different types of beveling. Now, at least with this one, we get a pretty good idea of the size, the curvature, okay, because it goes right here, coming out. You guys see that? All right. So that's why this is a big step forward. What we need to do now is get the other side, because it is quite different, the inner from the outer. All right. And that's what we've been working on. But these are things.
How are you able to get the curvature from a 2D to a 3D?
Because that's in Blender, in the program Blender, the 3D.
But did the image show the?
No, there are techniques to bend it that we use to bend the mesh. These are meshes. Once we have the 2D, then we start working on 3D and giving it depth and proportion and everything. And then we're able to bend the mesh according to the curvature of that part of the cranium, all right, which is occipital parietal. So
and we even had two people that were down there in at the conference that were pathologists that looked at it, and they stated that is the curvature of what the human skull would be in that area. So we knew we had it right there.
And the thickness also.
And the thickness. Now,
Can
when
you believe
Larry,
that's how thick your head is, you know, in that area.
when
Well,
Larry,
let me ask a question. So you're assuming, but here's the legal issue. So you curved it in from what you understood to be this part of the head, the skull, right?
We used also anatomical references for that.
But like, for example, the HSCA thought it came from the top of the head, right?
Well, but
in other words, so one could argue that if it came from the top, that curvature would be incorrect, right?
Completely. That's why Dr. Mantik's work is so incredibly important, because he gives you the exact provenance of this. Okay. And in fact, in my book, I cite him. I have a whole chapter on this and his work. So anyway, yeah, this is awesome. I think you want to mention about the A6 that we saw.
yeah, give me just a second. I'll mention that, and I'll actually show it as well. But yeah, I wanted to just, like I say, take a technology break, because I mean that's something that obviously I'm into and Larry's into, and between the two of us, you put us together, we're gonna come up with some shit, but good shit, you know,
With
not the bad shit.
With a small s, not with a big S.
Exactly. So I mean, the thing is to actually have something that is not just a photograph. You know, the actual artifact is missing. It's gone.
Well, why is this so important? Why is this so important? Because obviously, you know, it proves a shot from the front. You know?
Exactly. And I know obviously I know a lot of people know my story over the last 7 years. I had a head injury, and I know I went back and I showed that piece when I got back from Dallas. I got a hold of the doctor that I work with, and I said, hey, I know you probably don't know a hell of a lot about the JFK assassination, but you know about brains, skulls, anatomy, this and that. I said, look at this and tell me what you think it is. He goes, it's a piece from the back of a skull. Knew it. And of course I'm bald. So I said, he goes, well, let me show you where this is going to go. And he put it right on my head and said, this is where it came from. And I mean, at that point, it just not only did it give me satisfaction, I don't want to say accreditation, I want to say satisfaction on the fact of what, you know, I took what Larry, and this is Larry's work. I'm just the 3D architect into doing the printing. Okay. But it's Larry's work. He's the one that's got us to this place. So
David, where did he put it on your head?
Where Larry just showed you at, right there on the back.
Because I wasn't sure how specific Larry was being there. Are we to believe that that fragment is includes the EOP per se? That is the external occipital protuberance.
Yeah, and you got to read Mantik to understand, because he's the one that's done the important work on this, and he's been able to map it exactly where it came from. You know.
So you're saying that the fragment that you're displaying there includes the external occipital protuberance.
Yeah, this is the external portion. We use for reference images, the FBI photos of the Harper fragment, which were in 2D. If you go to, you can find the photos, and as you can see, they're completely flat. They do not show curvature at all, and it's done on purpose. You know, they do not want you to see the curvature. You know, they took, you know, flat photos of these, you know, and all we did was we went into Blender and did the mesh and did all the modeling, and this is what we came up with.
So you are saying that the EOP is represented as a piece of that fragment.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the same thing, the only thing we need to get down here, the only thing we need to get down here is the inner, which is different. And we're already working on that. He's got working meshes on that. All right. So
yeah,
well, the E in EOP is for external.
Right.
Yeah, this is something that, you know, I know Larry's been working on for a number of years, getting, you know, in Blender. And then obviously last year I got into 3D printing and 3D modeling. So it was kind of a mashup between me and him working on it together to actually have something that you can physically hold in your hand. It's not just a photograph that you're looking at. You can actually see it, you can turn it, you can feel the ridges. It's
Mhm.
just, it's a step in the right direction of being able, especially on as a teaching aspect.
Right.
You know, when I very first printed it out and Larry sent me, and it's funny, I got to just get a little quip here. When he first sent it to me, of course, I have no idea how big the damn thing is either. So when I printed it out, it was about the size of a quarter. And I sent him a photograph and said, the shit's not sticking together. It's falling apart. I can't
Yeah,
get the damn
yeah.
thing to stick together. He goes,
Yeah.
well, that's not the right size. So then I went back, started looking at the in millimeters, centimeters, and adjusted the model to fit it. And what Larry just showed you, we are within, I mean, as what I've showed it to the doctor that I've seen. I know I gave an extra one to Larry. Did you send that to Mantic yet?
No, we haven't sent him the actual mesh. No,
No, I mean the print. I gave you an extra one of those to send to him. Have you sent that to him yet?
no, you only gave me one.
Okay, I will. I've got
We
more.
were
I've got to
talking
make
about
up.
we were talking about that, but we never got around to that.
Okay, I will make up some more. I think what we did is we gave it to the other pathologist that was there in Dallas, and that's that's my bad. I will print up some more because I know I want to send that out to David because I want him to see it, hold it in his hand, and that way we've got his aspect of going, okay, is there any changes that we need to make? You know, can we tweak this to, you know, make it even better than what we already have?
Right.
And obviously, you know, we were working on the inside part like Larry just spoke about, but I mean, this is a huge advancement of what, you know, is it evidence? No, it's not evidence. The evidence we have is the photograph, but a photograph is very mistelling compared to having an actual 3D object. You know, it's not the actual bone, but as far as for educational purposes and to show somebody, when you speak of a bone fragment, is it a splinter of a bone? Is it, you know, a big chunk of bone like what Larry just showed you? These are things that, you know, especially the younger generation of researchers that we are trying to reach. If you can put something physically in their hand, or you can give them something visual, electronic wise on a computer, they can understand a lot better than, you know, they're unfortunately the way that students are today, the younger generation, they're not readers. They don't read books. They pay more attention to social media, but digital electronics, seeing something in hand, go, okay, this is a rendition or representation of the Harper fragment.
And so your contention is that the exact size of what Larry's holding up is a 1-to-1 match to the Harper fragment?
It's as close.
Can I answer that? Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Larry.
The FBI images of Harper fragment are superimposed onto a ruler. So we were able to get almost about to 98% certainty of the dimensions, both width and height.
Oh.
All right.
The thing that we kind of struggled with was we struggled with the thickness of the original model that Larry had sent me. So
yeah, that was
when I printed it off, I mean, it's literally just 1/10 of that thickness. And I'm looking at it and going, okay, if my brain was that thin and I got hit with a hammer, shit, I'd be dead in 2 seconds. So I realized at that point, we don't have the thickness right. Well, how do you find out the thickness?
The occipital bone is the thickest part of the skull.
Right. So you go back and you look at that amount of thickness in centimeters or millimeters, and then you adjust the model to fit that thickness. And then from that point, that's what you have now, the one that Larry showed. I mean, I showed 3 different versions that I had down in Dallas, a black one, a blue one, and a white one. And the black one was extremely thin. It had great detail, but it was extremely thin. The blue one was almost there. And then the white one, what I call my bone fragment, that one there is the thickness of what it shows in the anatomy of how thick that part of the brain, how thick that part of the skull is. So,
hey, David,
go ahead.
Let me interrupt here. Can you or Larry put that in a full screen so everybody can see what that is, and slowly turn that around and look at the thickness on that? Larry, can you do that? Or
yeah, I'll have Larry do it because my son took my only copy to school.
Yeah.
Show that up again, and
let's go full screen on that so you can see.
Casey, you're the one that handed this to me at 2 a.m. in Dallas.
That's true. I remember you coming through the door. I threw it at you. I said,
Yeah,
"Here's
go-
the back of JFK's head."
Yeah, slowly just put that, grab it by the edge, and then just slowly turn that around.
Have you got a ruler there? Do you have a ruler, Larry?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I should have a caliper, but
It looks pretty huge.
Yeah, put your hand up, and then put it in the palm of your hand.
Yeah, it's huge. You know, everyone will remember how the Warren Commission was criticized for concluding and basing the location of the entry bullet in the back of the head by the conclusion of the Warren report for utilizing the EOP as a landmark. And they say it was a certain distance from the EOP. So that, you know,
It was the,
puts the EOP in play very much so.
It was Humes, I think, that used, wasn't it Humes that made the measurement from a non-state, from a non-fixed point at the.
Yes, that was the nature of the criticism, and the HSCA went into that too. So
Yeah,
the and of course, bizarrely, the HSCA came to a point of entry that was, I think, 4 inches different than the Warren Commission. So the location of the EOP in relation to that fragment you're describing is should be something that an expert with enough anatomy background. I think Gary Aguilar.
Well, that's why I don't. Well, that's why you got to go straight to Dr. Mantic, because you don't have to go past his book. His book explains everything, you know, and he's been working on that for most of his adult life.
Yes, and so Gary has worked very closely with him too, Gary Aguilar, and I think Gary Aguilar would be interested in observing what you're holding up there.
Now, the other thing I want to point out, obviously the size of your hand, the palm of your hand, or showing it in midair there, isn't a full representation of what it looks like on the back of the skull. But
No,
obviously, I was the model, so to speak, I was the model of the model in person. And when you place it on the back of my skull, not only does it, I mean, as far as the curvature goes, not only does it fit that portion, it just doesn't stick off the back of my head. I mean, it literally hugs the back of my scalp.
exactly.
But it looks in proportion. And if you go back and listen to Dr. McClellan, the back of the head was blasted completely out. I mean, it was a huge gaping hole. That there.
This is a big point that Gary Aguilar makes.
Yeah. So
over and over.
What I need to do is I'm going to print off another one, and I'll use my head as example and place it in the right orientation in the right spot, and then take a photograph, and then we'll be able to show you this is where the fragment would have came out of. I mean, it would be different of like when Larry, the man's got a great set of, he's got a great head of hair. It looks different when you're actually on a bald head and you can put that over, the skull and look at it. I didn't grow thin and gray gracefully. I shaved that shit off, and I'm, but hey, it gives me an opportunity to take that little plastic piece, put it on there, and actually say, this is where the fragment came from, and here's what it would look like.
Yeah.
Without having to take like a Sharpie and draw it on the back of my head, which that's been done before too.
Or a decent size styrofoam model. And
Yeah.
there are many models of skulls that are pretty, I mean, you could just go to a doctor's office, a neurologist, for example, a hell of a skull.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the other thing is I'm working actually, you said skull. I'm actually printing a 3D head, an actual skull, because I looked them up online to buy one. I'm like, fuck that. I'm going to print it. Why not? I can make them. You make damn near anything on a 3D printer. So I'm actually going to make a 3D printed skull. What my plan is, I'm going to have the full skull. And then the next idea is I'm going to take and make a 3D printed skull with the damage of JFK's head.
Yeah.
And that way we can, I don't want to sound like we're doing.
Can you make an accurate 3D skull of JFK's head?
Yes, I can. It's how long is that going to take me to get done?
Hmm.
It's nothing I can get done immediately, but it is one of my projects that I'm working on.
That
I'm
would
gonna
be
have
actually the most useful to try to.
well, not just that, but it's almost like the board game operation. It's like a puzzle. You'll have the pieces come out and you'll actually put it together like a 3D model, and you can show where those pieces all fit.
Well, certainly, the HSCA has those docs drawings of, they're fairly realistic and they've been criticized, of course, but they purport to show the position of the Harper fragment as it's coming off the skull, so to speak.
Mhm.
Does anyone remember that? Anybody remember that? I do.
I remember. I know what you're talking about. I remember.
Yeah,
that.
so that drawing certainly would be in contrast to the positioning of the fragment as regards, what Larry was just showing us.
Yeah, and I think, like I say, I want to commend Larry on his work, because that's where I'm at in my work of actually bringing his, computer Blender files to to fruition of bringing it into an actual 3D print that you can hold. I mean, I know I gave it to as soon as I got to Dallas, I gave it to Casey and I said, go find Larry and just tell him like a little kid, hold out your hand and close your eyes. I was busy setting up the room, and he did it, I guess, late at night, early in the morning.
2 in the morning.
2 in the morning. So when you had it in your hand, Larry, I just want to know, because I wasn't there, but what the hell did you think when you finally had it in your hand at 2 o'clock in the morning?
I cried.
I mean, to see, the work that you've done, and
It was spot on. It was spot on. It was like, wow, this is exactly what we've been trying to accomplish. We just need to, fine tune it, and perfect it. That's all.
Yeah, leave room for fine tuning. There's no need to overcommit to the exact positioning of the fragment in regard to the human skull. Right now,
the thing about Mantic is that Mantic is a radiation oncologist who knows a lot about this, and he was able to examine the inner portion, and exactly that has a certain pattern of foramina, and marks and everything. And that's why he was able. We should have him on our meeting next time, and see, what other information he can suggest, on the project. I know that I've spoken to him, and he's 100% on board with us on this. So
yeah, man.
Well,
Larry
when
had
you
a,
say
had a
when
call
you
with
say
me.
he's 100% on board, is he talking about also? Are you saying that about the location of the fragment on the skull itself?
he's already determined that in his book.
Yeah,
he's already determined that in his book.
I think
it's still worthwhile to talk in a Zoom call with Mantic and Aguilar, and I can't remember the guy in Sacramento Aguilar works with so closely, who's very, very good. What?
That's right.
Who's the guy in Sacramento? Bill, are you there? No, Bill's absent at the moment. But anyway, there's no need to get too tied into the exact location and orientation of the fragment while you're still working on producing an excellent copy of it.
Yeah, the most important thing, Patrick, is we get the curvature right and we get the detail. Obviously, the outside ridges of the actual object, we've got that. That's down pat. We've got to tweak I want to really tweak the detail. When you have it in your hand, you can see the ridges, you can see the detail by what the extruder does on the 3D printer.
Hey,
It's
just one,
that's
David,
the next step.
just one quick,
go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to jump in real quick. Doug Horn is in lockstep with Mantic on all of this.
That's right. And
if you go to Doug Horn's 5 volumes, go through it in detail. When they put the skull back together, the morticians were working on the body at Bethesda. They packed the head with a hardening material. Then they put everything together, and the only part of the skull that was missing of substance was in the rear of the head. Tom Robinson, the mortician, drew a diagram of it, and they had to sew a piece of rubber sheet into the scalp back there to close that portion up, and so and be able to tie the hair and the scalp in place. So they knew precisely at Bethesda what was missing from the back of the skull.
Yeah.
Yeah, also you need to know it's Doug Horn's book, and it's chapter 13, and he goes right into that and backs up Mantic 100%. And I believe I don't have access to that, but is Mantic's new book, the JFK assassination decoded, criminal forgery and the autopsy photographs and x-rays? I don't know if that's out yet, but I already have several book reviews from that.
Yeah, that's David's new book. But I don't know. Let me look up on Amazon and see if by chance it's available. I know let me go in here real quick. I don't see it as soon as I pop up on the website, but yeah, the book that Casey just talked about, because he's read some reviews on it. I don't know if they're early copy reviews. I'm guessing they probably are.
One of them was Doug Horn's review, and
That's on Amazon?
no, I just looked up on Amazon. The book is not listed on Amazon.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I'd like to see Doug Horn's review.
But I'm seeing here that
but yeah, the name of the book is the JFK assassination decoded, criminal forgery in the autopsy photographs and x-rays. And I haven't read the book, but just by reading what Doug Horn wrote, I expected him to be one of the very first guys to say something on this. But I know that Gary Aguilar and several other people will probably get on board and read this and then come forward. But yeah, we definitely need to get. Okay, here we go.
yeah, now there's a Kindle version, and then there's also the hardcover. The Kindle version is only $6.76. Hardcover is coming in at $45.06. But yeah, it looks like you can get it. Well, I've got Prime, so I could get it between February 6th and 8th. But yeah, the book is available, and it is out on Amazon's website.
And I believe the hardcover has a lot of photographs, and I think most of them are in color, from what I understand.
Here's the back cover of the book, and there is the Harper fragment right there.
Oh yeah.
And even in 2D, you can see some 3D beveling in there.
Can I say something here real quick?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Larry.
You see the inner, can you keep that up there for a second? See the inner, the left is the outer, the right is the inner. Okay, you see the outer, we've got that. Now the inner, as you can see, you know, like when you break like shale rock or something, and it's sort of like flint, you know, you see that to the left, that portion there, right? That's what we're still working on, because that is a beveling that goes downward and then it thins out. All right, and that is on the other side of the fragment.
Yeah, what we'll do is, as we make the other side, well, after we make the other side, I will go back and cut half of that thickness down. We'll take the other side, we'll print it, and I'm going to, unfortunately, I'm going to try to print it all in one piece. The likelihood that I'll be able to print it all in one piece is probably about maybe 40% I could do that. So I think what I'm going to have to do is wind up actually printing two sides, and then they'll be glued together, and you'll have your thickness, and you'll have the outer and your inner. That's what we're working on next.
Let me grab the screen for a second, because I'm going to show you guys Mantic's other book. All right.
Yeah, go ahead, Larry.
Real quick. All right. Share. Here it is. All right. Okay. This is Mantic's book, I believe, 2015. Head wounds, a final synthesis. All right. And obviously he's going to show you the previous work. We've all seen this, you know, where all those doctors and witnesses said, you know, where it came from. This is what you were talking about earlier on the Ida docs or something like that.
That wasn't Ida docs. That was Warren Commission, but go ahead.
On commission. I know there's also an Ida docs that was with the Warren, the one that HSCA. And these are the fabricated back of the head photos where a matte insert has been used. All right. And
okay, wait, go back up a little bit. Now hold it, stop. A little bit higher. I mean, go down, no, a little bit, I'm sorry, lower. Yeah, see that, look in the center.
Right, that's where he first did it for Murder in Dealey Plaza, but then he refined it in this book. That's what he's doing here. He's showing the previous work, okay, but finally, and this is the photograph. Let me okay, and this is what we're talking about here. And you see the lamina, these are specific, okay, and these are the markers that he used, and these sort of like vein type of structures here, canals, that he was able to place it where he did, okay, and this is where it is. Now this one, now
I see, okay.
He's modified it a little bit to the left, all right, which means that we're having an entry a little bit, not completely frontal, but slightly to the right, which conforms to the, temporal or slightly over the eye that Joe O'Donnell saw in the pictures and everything. Okay. And as you can see, he's given you all the, remember somebody was saying about a model of the skull? Well, and this is the,
that's the doc's photo.
That's the doc's photo.
And as you can see, they doctor this, in such a way. I mean, how to
Well, and you can see the doc's photo includes
drawing
representation.
Right.
Yeah. Doc drawing.
That's the only way that they could finagle their way through this shit. And then
it's not a photo, it's a drawing.
Right.
Yeah, right.
This is a short book. I think it's only 100 pages, but if anybody wants it, I can email it to them. I have my own PDF copy. And
I would appreciate a PDF copy. I don't.
Yeah.
And also, for those that want to get it on Kindle, and not that I'm supporting Amazon, but Kindle price is $9.99, the one that Larry's showing you right now.
Oh, good.
No, actually, yeah. And then what I did is I hacked it to make it into PDF.
Hey, by the way, before we end today, send that copy to me, because it's one book I don't have, and I wanted to read that.
Sure. I have a website with all my books. I can just send that link. It's in my app box, and all kinds of books are up there. You can just download them, whatever you want. Here's the other. Okay, as you can see, very, very good images, and this is where most of his life's work is, in this book, and he little by little until he finds, where it came from, very, very important information here. Let me see if I can, appendices. I know Douglas Horn has an appendix here. Okay, here you go. This is where this fellow by the name of Schwinn, he went in for an interview with the federal government, and they came out and they showed him these photos, and they were undoctored photos of JFK from the front. Okay. And he described this to Douglas Horn, and this is how it was at the beginning, before all the body alteration. All right. So anyway, let's stop the share. Okay, I'll send you guys my app box, my document box, and then you can download whatever you want from there.
All right. Well, definitely, Larry, I want to thank you for that. And like I say, I mean, this is just advancements that we're making on the technological side, such as, Larry's Blender program and Blender. Well, it's not his program, but he uses Blender. Plus it's now taking it to, I'm taking his work and taking the next logical step of making it into a 3D print. So I just, like I say, I wanted to throw that out there to everybody. Also, speaking of technological side, the conference DVDs, I don't make DVDs anymore. The conference films from November will be available on USB flash drives. I know I've had some people asking me about that. They are coming. It's unfortunately, we do have to sometimes level out, life and time and so on. But they will be coming out soon. They'll be out hopefully within, I want to say, at least the next 2, maybe 3 weeks for purchase. As it comes to our Harper fragment 3D print, We're not going to sell those. It's just, but we have them. We can show them. I'm not making money off of a, rendition of JFK's skull. But they're there it's for educational purposes. That's why
That's what Robert Morrow said to me at the conference last November. He said, "Oh, that's nice. You guys should be selling these."
Yeah, I that to me just I don't know that wow.
Oh my God.
I could not picture myself doing that. But yeah, I know I had a lot of that's why I printed 8 copies and I gave, 7. Well, I printed 8, I kept 1. The other 7 I gave out to whoever wanted one, and individuals that I wanted to have them have it in their hand. But it's something
Larry,
that,
Larry, if Robert's the #1 researcher in the world on this, then you've got to be number 2. So
Well, can I make an overall comment about that hard copy Harper fragment that's been 3D printed? Number one, it's great work and it's an advance. It's terrific to work with, but I feel strongly that, not too strongly, I would just recommend continuing to refer to it as a work in progress in the sense of it hasn't been perfected in its 3D image per se, and also the exact orientation of it in the occipital area. Until you've got Doug Horn and Mantic, and I would say Aguilar, and there's also the inveterate, the guy from Pittsburgh who's like been here forever. When they all agree on it, you can move more toward a more certain kind of presentation. It's terrific work. It's really a great advance, but it's somewhat of a work in progress. That's not even a criticism.
no, and
We haven't said anything to the contrary.
Good.
no,
We've been saying it from the first minute here that it's a work in progress.
Good.
and
Yeah, it is a work in progress because I have the book that Larry just showed us. I have it on Kindle, and Mantic and Horn agree that there were 3 shots that struck the skull, but they disagree on the path of those bullets in that particular book. So I'll be interested to get the new one.
Well, and let me say the book that Larry just showed came out in 2015. The book that Casey spoke about just came out this year. So there's been an 8-year difference. And we all know in this case, 8 years is a lifetime when it comes to, knowing what took place. Written a book that was produced or was put out in 2015 probably had at least a 3 to 5 year writing period. So if you look at what was available back then to what is available now, obviously things change. We get new information, we get documents. We have a change of, hey, I was wrong, and this is what I'm, going to now because this is what backs up and where I'm at.
I think David, what Horn had done though with that book in 2015, it was a compilation of all his research over the years. He said that one of those 3 shots hit well behind the right ear, and it was a tangential wound, entered behind the right ear and sliced off the bone off the back of the skull. That's what's in that book. That aligns with what Hume said. He described it as a tangential type of a wound. I just found it was interesting. That was the major discrepancy in that 2015 book between Horn and Mantic. I don't know where they are today.
Do you want me to read? Do you want me to read the 3 shots that?
Just a second, Casey. For everybody that wants a copy of those books, I just posted it there. Just get that. And Mantic's book is there, and a whole bunch of others. All right.
Yeah, the new book is the one we want to see. It'd be interesting to see where they are now.
Yeah, I can give you the 3 shot sequences and where they came from. The first shot, a shot low in the posterior skull from the rear, probably fired from the 2nd floor window of the Dow Tex building, blowing out the head flap on JFK's that the Zapruder film shows prominently. Shot number 2, an almost simultaneous shot from the right front, probably fired from well down the grassy knoll, North Grassy Knoll, near where the triple overpass meets the knoll. And a 3rd almost simultaneous shot from the right front, fired from near the corner of the grassy knoll and the stockade fence, hitting JFK above and slightly behind the right ear. So there's a lot of material in there, but it's enough to be able to grab you and tell you you need to read this book.
Yeah, we've got to get that book for not only us to read, but also to have in our archives for Project GFK.
That was David, that was the essence of my last presentation of where were the shooters. Because if you look at the orientation of where Kennedy's head was, leaning forward, turned to the left, it's critical. What Mantic and Horn never did is they never took those entry points and extrapolated, went all the way back to where was, they make the comment, well, he's behind the fence near the corner, he's well down by the overpass. Map it out. I mapped it out in that presentation. I think it's almost impossible for a shooter to be anywhere near that corner to fire the fatal shot, unless Horn is right, unless it was he almost missed the skull. He just clipped it in the back rear, well behind the ear, and sliced off that part of the skull. Because otherwise, the exit of that shot, if it was anywhere near the air, the exit of that shot is going to be on the other side of the head. That left side of the head would have been blown out. I mean, you've got to do the math and analysis. This is my last comment, and I'll refrain from any others on this topic, but that was the reason why I did all that research. It's critical that Horn and Mantic and anybody looking at this walk back from those entry points. We know from Sherry Feaster's work and the HCSA, we know exactly the orientation of that skull at the moment of the fatal headshot. You know, we know the XYZ orientation in terms of degrees, where it is relative to the limo. We know all of that. You just have to do the analysis.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that. I know that I remember your presentation on it, and it went into great detail. You gave that one at OC only Central College, and for the headshot, the fatal shot, absolutely, I agree with you on that. The only thing that you and I have ever, I won't say we disagreed, but we each had our own opinion, was I go for the throat shot of a shooter, and with your work on the headshot, the fatal shooting, or the fatal shot, the shot that took out his head, those are really the only, I mean, they're two different shots, and like I say, I mean, I know that we've gone, I appreciate your work and the analysis that you've done, especially the diagramming and measuring of it. I just think that for the throat shot, we've got a possible shooter down there on top of the bridge.
Yeah, I think the shooter for the throat shot was roughly where Shanna Willis describes a shoot. I think that first shot to the throat, it was a wide open shot from anybody shooting from that corner of the stockade fence. The math, all of that works out. That's a whole separate presentation, because I only talked about the head. I have done a lot of work on that throat shot. That may be a presentation down the road, but I definitely agree it was a frontal shot.
Right. It definitely was. Let's see, there's something else I was going to bring up here. Well, yeah, we are rolling on the 3 o'clock hour. I just want to throw this out again. We are going to be having kind of like a break for station identification. You're watching Project GFK CSI Dallas, and I want to thank everybody again for coming out today. And those of you that are be on YouTube watching this as it gets uploaded tomorrow, don't forget the conference that we're going to have in April. Tickets are available. You can go to the JFK Historical Group website or Project GFK CSI Dallas, click on events, and get your ticket that way. The link for the hotel, I will have that available. I've reached out to the hotel to have a direct link to get the special discount price of the $129 a night from the Crown Plaza. We'll have that link hopefully this weekend, or this week coming up. Oh yes, thank you, Larry. I knew if I talked long enough, shit would change in my brain. The Alcon 6. I'll give you a quick backstory here.
It's a good story. It's a good story. It's a hell of a story.
It is. So let me pull this up. I knew,
and I've been waiting with bated breath. Trust me.
Okay, well here's your here's where we've got this. This was Gary Fannin. He's a friend of our group and a lot of people out there. Gary came to me. I was sitting there having lunch, kicked back with a beer. It was my birthday weekend. So he goes, "You want to see something really cool?" And I said, "Well, hell yeah, I want to see something really cool. When don't I?" And he goes, "I just got this." And I said, "Okay, what did you just get?" And he's got it in a little envelope. And I said, "Okay, show me what you got." So let me share screen here. And he hands me the God damn it. Okay, here we go. He hands me this little piece of film, this negative. And as soon as I held it up to the light, I knew what I was looking at. And I said, "You're shitting me." I said, "Is this the real thing?" And he goes, "Well, yeah, it's the real thing." He said, now of course I was concerned. Is it an altered photograph? This is a picture of the negative. Now this is, let me go back to share screen again. This is the Alcon 6 photograph. Now, this is the altered version though. Several people walked up. I know Gary Shaw looked at it. Chris Gallup did. We were actually scanning some stuff that Gary had on display. And this is the Alcon 6 photograph that Gary Fannin has the negative to. Larry, you want to add some pieces in on this? Your mic's muted. Hold on.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Well, I wrote a whole book about this, and you can tell the alterations just by looking at the extant photographs that are still around. But when you look into, this is the supposed negative of the A6, and you have all the same alterations that are in the extant photograph, which means that this was shot after alteration. And if you want to go, remember I showed you at least 14 alterations, in this here, where airbrushing, removal of certain people, a lot of things going on in this. You'd have to, blow it up a little bit to show what I noticed right away is how much all the scratching, which is obviously from handling the negative. But if you go one by one, you're going to see that all the alterations that we have been writing about and talking about for so long are on this negative. So the process appears to have been to shoot the negative, blow it up, alter it, shoot the negative on again after the alteration, and put it on a roll of Tri-X film, and there you go. That's the recipe.
Yeah,
they're all there. They're all there.
Give me just a quick sec here.
You can go ahead. The Maggie with the camera, the windshield, man in the doorway, the microphone over Earl Emery Roberts' mouth here in the emergency escape. You can see an artifact covering up the black man there. If you go inside of the JFK Secret Service, you can see all the faces have been obliterated. Over here where LBJ was supposed to, with a lot of motorcycle cops were saying that he was ducking. You don't see LBJ in there, but you see an artifact covering up, and you can go all the way around, the photograph. You're going to see all the alterations to the Alcon 6, and this is the proof right here.
Check your email, Larry. I just sent you an email with all those photographs. This is, this was cool that, we were able to, he brought the negative in. I said, "Hey, I got the scanner right now. Let's scan this in so we can get it." I'll be putting these, I gotta double check with Gary again. I'm sure he's still fine with it, but, I'm going to check with Gary Fannin and make sure we can put those up on the website. Cause it is a very clear, it's a very clear photograph compared to some of the other ones that are out there. Let me see if I can zoom in here. Yeah,
That's great.
It's great. It's great quality. And taking it, it's not like taking and scanning a photograph in and then looking, looking at a reprint of a photograph. But anytime you can go back to the negative, especially on the equipment that I have, it's tremendous to be able to, it's probably one of the best.
Look at the forehead of Landis right there. The forehead right there, as the forehead has been lopped off, with the airbrushing there at the top. The second guy, that's Landis, John Landis.
Right here?
Yeah, you see the forehead, how there's a curvature there, how it's been lopped off there? See that?
Yeah, so this gave us a great rendition and great copy, but taking it directly from the negative compared to what we've had before. I wish, actually in my presentation I do on the new theory, new weapon, I'm going to go back and exchange the crappy Alcon 6 photograph and show this one here. It's just one of the things and I'm going to say it again. That's one of the nice things about coming to the conference. You never know what somebody's going to walk in and have either on their person, in their briefcase, in their backpack, and can actually show you, hey, here's what I've come across. I love meeting with everybody online, and I like doing it monthly, but especially when we get a chance to be in person. Great things come from those conferences. I know we had some people that had never even been to a conference before on the JFK assassination. It was their very first time. And, everyone that came up and talked to me about it was happy with it. They got their money's worth. And it's not like we make money off of it to, go out and buy, extravagant cars. We're not the Madoffs. We do this to support, the work that we're doing to pay for the bills of, the hotels, conference rooms. Shit's not cheap. We gotta pay to meet. It's cheaper on Zoom, doing our meetings here, but you get much more when you're actually in person. So I want to throw that out again. Anybody that would like to come out, we would love to have you in Memphis. And again, you can go to the two websites. We'll be putting out information on social media, Facebook and Twitter, to give out information on that as well. But I think I've rambled on enough here. Let's see. Anybody else that is working on some stuff that they'd like to talk about?
David,
Hey,
David.
what's going on?
Hey, what's going on?
I'd like to share, if I could, with David. Happy birthday, Casey. Hello, David, Mr. Denton. What's going on, guys? I would like to share a really cool Christmas present I got from my son this year with everybody. These are not reprints, okay? They smell. Oh, my God, they smell. But they're real. Somebody saved these. You guys can see that.
Yeah.
The Pontiac Free Press. They reprinted a lot of these things, and I was worried that they might be, but he found at a flea market in Nashville, Tennessee, an entire stack of newspapers that a gentleman named Earl J. Hudnall saved at the time of the assassination over that weekend, and the weekend of the release of the Warren Report. And I've got a whole stack of them. I don't want to. This is the Detroit Free Press from the weekend of the assassination. It's really interesting looking back through this stuff and seeing the ads, the hand-drawn and hand-painted ads for cars and stuff like that. Here's the Pontiac Free Press from the 23rd. Look at that headline. Or is it backwards? Is it backwards?
No.
Somebody can read it?
We can read it.
Second man arrested. What about that headline? Isn't that interesting? Apparently, I think they're talking about Bill Frazier. When you read this, second man arrested, they searched his house, interrogated him pretty good. And then there's a couple from, let's see, the time of the, guys, these things are really stinky, okay? You can't look at them for like more than 5 minutes at a time, and you start to get lightheaded. Holy cow. The Pontiac Free Press from, here's the headline from September 28th, I believe. this newspaper from when the release of the Warren Report and all the damned propaganda that came with it and in its wake. But got that from my son. He found them at a flea market, a guy that buys junk out of storage facilities that are foreclosed on. And I thought I would share that with everybody. I thought you guys might enjoy seeing that. But really awesome artifacts to have. And
that, Doug.
yeah, man. And my wife and I, you guys that are in Memphis, you're only about 3 hours from our front porch. So we're talking about coming out to Memphis to the conference in April for the weekend. As long as David Denton promises he won't let Ed Tatro yell at me, I'll be there. Right. So, all right. Thanks, guys.
We'd love to have you, Doug. All right. Well, who else would like to share some information, what you're working on, or if you have questions? Hey, this is why we do this. We do it to meet and come together, meeting of the minds.
David,
oh, sorry. I just have one question, Dave. I put it in the chat. This week I was going to look at Harold Weisberg's stuff on the website. And when I click on it, it says you don't have permission to look at this file. So
that's on the Weisberg site?
No, on the JFK, Project JFK website where it has the various websites.
Okay,
the Harold Weisberg archives. When I go to get in, I can't get in. I don't know if it's me or if it's.
Let me take a quick look here and see if I mean, sometimes things do happen where they're on there, and then if something's changed, they become a dead link. Okay, the front door is working still to the Weisberg collection. Let's see if the folder index is working. Now the folder index is working. I'm pulling it up right now.
If not to take up everybody's time, if I try again, I have issues, I'll just send you an email.
Yeah, send me an email, or like I say, you can always give me a call. And I throw it out there freely. Anybody needs to call me about something, my number is 913-980-JFK1 or 5351 if you don't have an alphanumeric on your phone. But yeah, when you go to our site on the affiliated websites, you'll see it says there's a picture of Harold with whitewash. Right. That's the front door, so to speak, of his website. But right below that is the Harold Weisberg folders index. Okay. And the folders index is what's great about going to that particular page is you can, instead of having to go through and try to, type in something you're looking for, everything's alphabetized. I worked with Carl Oglesby a few years ago. We had met him in Dallas, and he had worked on Harold's digitizing of his files. And luckily, instead of me having to go on and try to download every individual folder, he just loaned me his hard drive that he used to build a website with. And I was able to, it took I think it was a 1 terabyte hard drive, and it filled it. So it's, but I know a lot of people there for a while. The Weisberg folder index site had went down, and they had changed the web address just like a little bit of. I'm looking at it now. It says, let's see here. It shows like it's on the jfk.hood.edu collection Weisberg, and then there's a whole bunch of percentage 20 subject. You can see it when you go to it, but if they change one piece of that address, it throws the whole damn thing off. So I'm constantly, and I just checked it back in November to make sure that all my links were good, but that doesn't mean that December they couldn't have changed something. So I try to do my best to keep on top of the sites that are connected to our site. Kind of the phone book,
everything you do. So but I'll try it again and see if I have trouble. I'll call you or email you.
Yeah, and also I don't know which web browser you're using. I just happen to have it up on Google at the moment.
Yeah, I use Google Chrome.
Okay, yeah, that's what I use. I know sometimes, particularly accessing that website, I did run into some issues with Safari. I think it was Safari, and I accessed it on a Linux computer, and I had a little issues with that. But I know Google never seems to have a problem with it. So unless they change the address.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, Rick.
Hey, David, it's Brooks again. Just a quick comment about Memphis.
Yeah.
I've been down to Lorraine a couple times, just kind of poking around, but I was fortunate enough last year, and we ended up on a day, I think, when Ryan Jones was off from work. We actually hit the museum down there on a Sunday. But it's fantastic what they've done. The Lorraine attaches to the National Civil Rights Museum. It's a phenomenal working tour, but it's really tied more to civil rights and the assassination of King. But what's really interesting is the second part of the tour, you walk across the street and there's a retaining wall behind the rooming house. As you remember, that backyard where Jowers was supposedly in the bushes and whatnot, that's well above street level. And there's a retaining wall there. It's probably 8 to 10 feet high. Well, they've cut a hole in that. And you enter through there and there's a tunnel that goes underground into the basement of the rooming house. And there's a big lobby area there and whatnot. And then there's a express elevator that takes you up to the second floor, and you step out onto the second floor and you can see the bedroom where Ray stayed. You can see the bathrooms where supposedly the shot was fired. I put that in quotes. But you walk the rest of that second floor. It's a phenomenal tour. They have the whole timeline of the search for Ray. They've got his suitcase, his passport, just a lot of artifacts. It's really very well done. It reminded me a lot of kind of what they did with the Texas School Book Depository with a 6-floor walking tour. But anyway, it's worth the trip. We really, really enjoyed it.
Well, thank you, Brooks. And yeah, anybody that has not, I personally have never been to Memphis. I was a truck driver, so I drove through Memphis several different times and out through Tennessee. But I saw the town through a windshield of a truck at about 80 miles an hour. But it'll be different actually getting a chance to go there and return to the scene of the crime when it concerns MLK. So I know I'm excited about it. I'm excited to have anybody that wants to join us and make our conference even grander. It's our first time going out there, so this will be kind of an idea of, are we going to return to it in the future? Depends on how successful we are this year. So yeah, obviously if you've never been there, appreciate what Brooks just said. And hey, you're in the town with a lot of stuff that happened in Memphis on the music side is going to be out there. You've got Graceland, you got Sun Studios, BB King's restaurants there. Hey, the fabulous Beale Street. I'm excited to go, and I'd like everybody to join us. All right, who else would like to add something?
Hey, Brooks, this is Bill Thielen. That tunnel should have gone right to Lloyd Jowers Diner.
Hey, Brooks, you're muted.
Yeah, we actually ate around the corner in this little soul food joint that was fantastic. We were the only white people in the place. So that was kind of an interesting reversal of what you might typically be used to. But I have 3 grandchildren adopted from Africa. My youngest daughter, we have a grandson from Ethiopia. My 2 granddaughters are from Rwanda. And so I thought it would be very important. This was kind of a teaching moment. They're in their teen years now, so we took them down there. It was very enlightening to them. And then the next day we went over to Nashville. We went to the Hermitage, and they have a phenomenal walking tour that shows you how the Hermitage operated as a business and the role of the slaves and how important they were. But they've done a phenomenal job at the Hermitage with restoration. And so for them, it was a great couple-day trip to really they're stepping into American history, coming here as young babies from Africa. But race obviously is going to be an important issue for them going forward, and their, how they fit into all of this with white parents and whatnot. So it was a phenomenal trip for us.
Okay. Again, April the 13th or the 15th is going to be the conference in Memphis. And there will be details. I know some are not able to or don't want to travel, or they physically can't. Or it's the financial side, and we totally understand that. So there will be a Zoom link where you can take part in the conference. Obviously, the portion of the because obviously there's a museum tour built into the conference ticket price for those attending in person. If you're at home during that time, you'll kind of have to close your eyes and wish you were there, because we won't be showing live. Just, you know, we won't be able to on the technology side of being able to live stream on Zoom at the event. But I'm going to do my best to see what I can film or photograph while we're at the museum. Obviously, there's, you know, things involved with copyrights and so on. So I'll see what I can do to put something up on our website on YouTube after the event ends. But we'll just have to kind of see what that happens. So that's why it's important, if you get a chance and you can come out to Memphis for the conference, then you get a chance to partake in the entire weekend. I do want to say a quick shout out to as soon as I can get my computer to work. I want to show a quick shout out to those of you that have in the past, either at one time or have donated to us on the regular at projectjfk.com under the Help Our Cause tab. I want to say a thank you to the supporters who have donated to us. And if you would like to donate again, or you've never donated to us and you like what we're doing, you can click the donate button and make a donation through PayPal. So everybody that's listed, if you have donated and I haven't put you on the list, I will work on getting those added to it. I think I had 3 names that I just came across that need to be put up on our tabulation board. So I just want to say again, thank you for those of you that, you know, do support us in our cause, and that gives us the opportunity to continue doing things like having these journey meetings, paying to have Zoom where we're not just tied down to a 45-minute time, because that would really suck if we only had 45 minutes to try to get all the stuff done that we do, and then have to keep logging in with a new meeting ID. So little things like that is what we use to make our stuff come off with the least amount of technical difficulties. Let's see. Oh, hey, I see Neil still with us. I want to say a quick shout out. I said at the beginning, but I'll say it again now that Neil's in the room. Neil, it was a grand pleasure having you in Dallas, getting to kick back and thank you for buying me a beer. But getting a chance to see my brother from across the pond, it was nice to have you at the event. How's things going with Dealey Plaza UK, or what are you guys working on other than your normal? I mean, but again, it's very important. And any of you that have not taken place in Dealey Plaza UK's events, they've got a great website. They do shows as well monthly. How's it going, Neil?
Yeah, hi, David. Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Actually, quite frankly, it's 9:30 and I'm suffering from JFK assassination fatigue. This morning we had a Dealey Plaza UK committee meeting at 10 o'clock for an hour and a half. After that, I took the dog for a walk and I listened to Doug and Rob's latest podcast. At 3 o'clock, we had our monthly Zoom meeting. I don't know if you know Nancy Wyford. She's doing some research on the TSBD and how integral it was in framing Oswald. And I really like Nancy's research style. It's very collaborative, very much, discussion paper orientated, and it was a really good session with lots of interaction. Actually, there were 33 people on your call at the beginning here today, and 2 of them and myself were on the Nancy call this afternoon. Craig Boozarth and Joe Bax, the members of DP UK. So we had a great 3 hours.
that will be released at some point, but she's doing some sensitive research on something I don't want to talk about at the moment, and we can't really release it until she's interviewed the right people. Yeah, so it's been a full-on day today. It's an important year for us, as it is for you guys. 60th anniversary. Membership is growing. We have a good calendar in terms of monthly Zoom meetings. We've got Gary Fannin and Tim Brennan speaking next month. I'm hoping that Janet and Robert Groden are going to do March. We've got Steve Cameron at some point. I think Chris Gallup is going to do something. I think we're going to have a really packed program actually this year, Zoom-wise. And we're also going to try and do some stuff probably midweek as well, which also may be good for the American contributors. And there's just a lot of people that just can't do stuff on a Saturday for whatever reason. You know, they're following rugby, they're following football, they've got kids, there are some younger people, younger members, it's not all our age demographic. So we're going to do that this year. We're going to have our flagship conference in October. We don't want it to compete with what's going on in America in November because of all the various speakers. And also some of our group will be going to Dallas again. And we have a one-day seminar in York in May for the, ostensibly because of the Northern and Scottish contingent who find it very difficult to get down to Canterbury, which is practically France in the southeast corner. So lots of stuff going on this year. Yeah, and obviously we always look forward to your things. I'm glad you've reintroduced it.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I wish we, could have done things over the holidays, but coming from the aspect of when you're organizing events, sometimes you get to the point where you're just like, okay, I need to concentrate on that, or I need to take a quick break. But it's the fact that that's why I've been gone from doing our events during the month. But it's a new year, and it's time for us to get back on, and trying to get this to work at the moment. But yeah, like I say, I want to support the Dealey Plaza UK group. I want us all to support them. I mean, they do great work, and it was definitely a pleasure having Neil come over and spend time with us in Dallas. So if you get an opportunity and you could, I don't know if you want to make the trek to Memphis, but hell, we'd love to have you there too.
Oh, I would love to actually. I've got a proper holiday planned, and I don't know when. I want to do it with my wife at some point. I want to start off in Chicago. I want to go down through kind of Mississippi, Tennessee, New Orleans, and then back up to Dallas, and then possibly to New Mexico, where Breaking Bad was filmed. And it's just going to be all about rock music, jazz music, blues music, and great food, and just a completely different route, because I've done a lot of the American states. I worked in California for a time, been to New York multiple times, but I quite fancy that. But I don't think I can get out there in April. I think the fact you've got a Zoom option is really good. Just one of your other attendees, Bill T, just asked a question on the chat regarding, my trip to Dallas this year. Absolutely fantastic. It was great seeing you guys and, sharing the experience, having a few drinks in the bar. I actually spent 2 weeks in Oak Cliff, living the dream, living the Lee Harvey Oswald dream, allegedly. And that was great fun in terms of, doing those timings by car and walking, so the stuff that a lot of you have probably done, yourself, and just looking at all the different sites and taking, lots and lots of photographs. Scott Reed, a fellow Dealey Plaza UK member, was in Dallas and Fort Worth. overlapping with me. I think he went to a different conference, but he also went to the Chris Gallup thing, Fort Worth. He'll be putting together an article around Fort Worth stuff. I'll be putting together an article around Oak Cliff. But yeah, absolutely fantastic. Really enjoyed the 2 weeks I spent there.
All right. Well, again, definitely glad that you were able to come out with us, and just want to throw this up. This is what you can do when you come to one of our events. You get a chance to meet people that you talk to on Zoom, and sit there and kick back with a lively libation. So definitely want to.
I've certainly had a few. Actually, I forgot to mention Shana as well. I met her. We hooked up, and I don't know if she's still on the call. Is she still on the Zoom? But yeah, she is.
Yeah,
Hi.
she's there.
Hi,
Yes,
Shana.
I'm here.
And she entertained me. I went out to East Texas, to Bonnie and Clyde country, and we had a lovely dinner on the eve of Thanksgiving, and we just talked all night, didn't we, about your story and your father, and just the assassination in general and the way forward for you. It was really nice to meet you and your family, Jana.
Same here, Neil. It was a good visit.
Yeah, so great stuff.
I'm still going to follow through on Artis Mitchell and those two other retired Dallas police officers who have materials before the Fed seized them. They're in their 80s, and they both want to get with me to have their materials published.
Well, we absolutely need anything to do with the DPD before people pass.
Oh, I can't wait to see the one from the guy in Lindale who's got sketches that Ruby drawed when he was interrogating him. I can't wait to see those things.
That just sounds good.
And Shauna, while you're still here with us, I do want to apologize. We didn't get a chance to get your spotlight done before your surgery. I'm glad surgery came out a positive.
Yes, the scar is healing well.
Definitely. You look great. And I do still want to get us to where we can do a spotlight together. So
Certainly.
After we get done, maybe over this next week, we can work on getting something planned. So we can do an event in February.
Okay, great.
All right.
Thank you.
Would anybody else like to add something to us? Anything new that you're working on, Larry, besides what you've got in your background there?
My God, my plate is really full with this Charlotte Zerum Bustos, and with the passport research, that just completely blows the whole Mexico City thing out of the water. I think, like I said, I mean, you got to read Bill's book, State Secrets, because, he goes into a lot of detail. And I think, what he just postulated is pretty damn well reasonable, and he even says in the book, there's no evidence that Lee went to Mexico City, that he was impersonated 100%. And that's exactly what the Lopez report determined. And the more documents that keep coming out from the National Archives, the better picture we're able to paint on Mexico City. And as you can see, my God, if they were CIA assets, in the pocket of Win Scott for almost 20 years, that's very significant, and the whole Mexico City scenario is going to have to be reinterpreted based on the new documents.
Well, I want to throw something out here. We saw Larry's presentation earlier about, going through and scanning or showing him the scans of the different passports, and I want to throw this out as a plead. Please, if you have an opportunity to scan documents in, don't always go for file size. You don't have to scan it in at the, maximum, like, DPI, but please make them where they're actually legible and they're not just a mudded up mess. I know when we were going through doing Dick Russell's collection, me and Brian, obviously, the college wanted us to, Baylor wanted them as small as file sizes as possible, but it was up to our own judgment. Otherwise, if it was just going to be a scanned document that you couldn't read, or it was just going to be, a sheet of shit, basically, why waste your time? And I explained to Brian, I said, we're going to scan this in. Is it going to be the scans like when we did Gary's, negatives, digitized slides? Well, no, those are digitized slides. We were working on newspapers, documents, some photographs, but the key to it is like in what Larry just showed us in Oswald's passports. If you're going to scan it to where we're going to be able to read it, in 20 years.
And you know what's so interesting that you mentioned that? There were no scanners available then, right? So what did the DPD do? And you can see the markings on the side of the fingers of the person holding up the document, and then they just took a picture of it.
Yes.
I mean, how novel is that?
I need to speak to that, Larry. When Dad taught me how to process film in his photo lab at Dallas City Hall, right underneath where Ruby shot Oswald 14 years ago, it was during the House Select Committee on Assassination. He was still working, even though he was chief of Dallas Fire Department Photography, where he last retired. He had laddered over there from DPD. They needed the best person, and he led the photo recon over Cuba. So they had planted him, the agency had planted him there. He was supposed to take it to the grave. So he's the one that got the evidence from the Dallas Police Department archives when the House Select Committee of Assassination came in. And I remember him teaching me to process some of these things. I posted them in our chat. I don't have digitals. I have the actual 8x10s. He said, can I make an extra copy of a couple of these things? So some of those fingers you're seeing on some of those things is my dad's hand.
Over my left shoulder, if you look at the background here, you can see the fingers of the person holding up the passport.
That's my dad's hand.
Probably.
And I processed the arrest report says INV murder on Lee Oswald. And I still have those, of course, offsite in a safe with my attorney, but he got to take some of those prints home, and he would teach me and my brother what these were and what happened, as he told us about Lee being on his team and how he was supposed to take it to the grave.
And another thing that this whole thing tells me is that everybody thinks that the CIA has been stonewalling documents. It's the FBI. That's where documents go to die. All right. And I found so many instances of that. And this one is the perfect example. I'm giving you the documents where the documents ended in the hands of the FBI. And those receipts were also found at the Dallas repository where all these documents are. And if you look at them, they aren't perfect, but if you put them through Photoshop and enhance them, this is the result, what you see here behind me. So
here's my question is, the University of North Texas got the digitized images, and they also put the negatives on the back. Who has custody of the negatives? Where are those?
Of these? Who knows?
No, they're negatives from the Dallas Police Department. Did they digitize and give them to the UNT, or did they keep the negatives?
This apparently were just paper documents, but this one obviously, was, taken like that, very, very crude way to do it, but it's at least, we have something that we never had before. You're never going to find this in the Warren Commission. You're never going to find it at any repository except this Texas. And it had to do with the DPD and what they did with these documents. And thank God that they did, because now we have this, and a much better understanding of this whole thing on the passport business,
Correct.
You're never going to see this one. This is the passport he should have used to go to Mexico. Yet he uses a tourist card. He, or the impersonator, because obviously, the real passport, is in Lee's hands.
Right. Excellent. Thank you.
Great.
Well, I think, let's see, we're almost at 4:00 Central Time. So I think we've talked about a lot today. I think we covered a lot of great ground. And I love the personal stories from each individual researcher. I love getting texts in. I'm looking at what 5 screens right now. So if you see my gaze go to another thing, I'm involved with you. I'm here, but I'm stretched in a lot of different directions at once.
Somebody asked about Armstrong and Lee. I think it's late, and understanding that book is, a little complicated. You know, he goes back and forth a lot. I have to say that the information that he uncovered is invaluable. But this, you know, this whole scenario of a two Oswald, I'm not really 100% clear on how that would have worked, and it's like some people have observed that if he was a Hungarian extraction, Russian has nothing to do with Hungary as far as language is concerned, and that's just one of the loopholes here that I see, and just a few others, but
Larry,
uncovering all that information was a very, very daunting task. That's for sure.
Larry, Dad talked about the two Oswalds, and when we hold my Zoom, I've got audio where you can hear Dad talking about how he, on the Enterprise with John McCain in the spring of '63, they were in Russian waters, how he would train different men and to memorize their orders, 2 or 3 different men that often looked alike. So if one of them got whacked or assassinated, the next person could step into their role, and you'll be able to hear that.
And I don't disagree that he was impersonated. He was impersonated, yes, but to that degree, from a young boy, with this whole thing, that would have happened so many years later. That's what
Dad talks about that too, of where they train, where they find, the way they
but I'm
got and
talking about
recruited their assets.
anticipating the need for somebody like this, so many years down the road. That's, but I agree that there's a ton of really, really good information and documents that he uncovered, and the book is a very, very important work.
Hey, Larry, I wanted to ask you something. I've had a lot of people, a lot. Hey, more than a couple. I've had quite a few people reach out to me and wanted to find out, is there any update on when your book is going to be available again in color?
I got to talk to you in private about that, because remember what we talked about? It's already been done.
Okay.
I need you and I to get together. It's already been done.
Okay. Perfect.
Remember we said we're going to go and get that PDF editor? That's all done. All done.
Awesome. Okay. You and I will have a phone call. Well, we're not doing it during the playoff games tomorrow, but we're going to have a phone call. Because, hey, go Chiefs. Bengals, the Bengals have beat them 3 times in a row, and I know that Mahomes is hurt, but God damn it, we got to get back to the Super Bowl. 4 times got to be the charm.
You could be like me, a Lions fan.
Oh, God.
Hey, but look what happened this year.
That's right. There's a lot of teams that were, really doing pretty shitty the last few years, and they have really stepped up. I mean, coaching is one big thing, and you
notice how head coaches keep getting younger and younger.
Well, yeah. Look at the Miami Dolphins. I mean, they were they actually had a decent run this year. They had a decent run with Tyreek Hill
until Tua got hurt.
Yeah. So, again, tomorrow is going to be, the divisional games. I am planning on the next Zoom meeting. It will be, I just want to let everybody know who's ever still hanging out here and who will see this on YouTube tomorrow. We will be meeting again in February, but it's going to be after the Super Bowl. I got to see that flag football with the Manning brothers. I gotta make sure I got me a 6-pack and a chair to sit in to watch that funny fiasco go on. But hey, maybe the Pro Bowl will be much better this year, and I won't fall asleep in the damn thing. So again, I want to thank everybody that has taken and showed up today, interacted with us. I think a lot of great things were shared, and
David, David, it's Neil again. Can I just ask Larry Rivera just a quick question? I did put a question.
Go ahead,
Neil. Larry, that link that you sent through to these lists of books in PDF form, how do you download a book? Is it password protected or?
Oh, no. Those books are completely open.
Just move your cursor over to the little 3 dots, Neil.
Download it. Once you get there, you can just click on it and download it or read it right there online.
Okay.
If you have any problems, I put my email up there. But I just tested it and it works fine.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'll give it a go. Okay.
David,
unfortunately, when you sent that, I tripped out and then I came back in again, and I don't know whether that whether that's
Just scroll up, on the.
whether it's stale or whatever. Okay, but I'll have a go at that. Thank you.
David, can you go ahead and try to see if you can access,
Yeah, I'm gonna do a quick share screen here so I can
Right.
show Neil what I'm talking about. When you're going to the books in the list, just go up to it, and as you're going down, you'll see this little box pop up that says more options.
Yes.
Click on more options, and then you'll find your download key.
Okay.
scroll down to the Mantic book,
The Mantic one is going to be this one
Right
right
there.
here.
right there.
And then, like say, you'll just go over,
Yeah.
click that, and hit the download, and you'll have it.
Got a lot of really good books.
That's the 2015 one, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah, this is the 15. Now,
You can't
if
complain. You got the best books are up there.
I know, it's incredible. Look at that stuff.
and then you can go, there's 3 pages. So
Right.
you can go to any of the ones that are in Larry's collection.
Well, that's very generous. Thank you, Larry.
You're welcome.
And again, you can also go, I think these are PDFs, aren't they, Larry?
They're classics. You know that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
of course.
absolutely.
You know that
But-
Heritage of Stone, you want to read that because it's still relevant today by Jim Garrison.
So yeah, definitely. Thank you, Larry, for putting that up for us and sharing that. Also, if you want to, support, there's the you can go through Amazon. You can get the print copies, the Kindle versions, to read them on an e-reader. Want to make sure we put those out there. But yeah, I think we had a successful meeting today, and again, we'll be having another one right after the Super Bowl. So I'm glad everybody is in good health, and thank you for joining us. If I missed anybody that would like to add before we sign off, now's your time, or we'll meet again in February.
Thank you, David.
Thank you. Well
Shauna.
done, guys.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you, David.
Thanks a lot. Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Joining meetings back on.
Okay,
Appreciate
well,
it.
we'll see you again in
Too
February.
long. 4 months. It's been 4 months.
I know. We were
Yeah,
supposed to.
I'm glad you got him back.
I'm glad to be back too. I know we were supposed to have Shauna in October before her surgery, and then of course November was the conference. We had the holidays, and it just life
Yeah.
happens, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, but
We got a great group here and a lot of heavy hitters, and this is just a tremendous asset and resource for me at least. So thank you.
thank you, Bill. Thanks to everybody.
Thanks a lot.
All right, everybody, be well, and go Chiefs, go Eagles too. Yeah. If I see a Chiefs and Eagles, Kelsey against Kelsey, the two brothers, that'd be an awesome Super Bowl. So, yeah, just my 2
I don't think
cents.
you're gonna make it.
Nah, probably not. But what the hell? I could dream, right?
Because if they manhandle Mahomes the way they manhandled, forget it. The Bills, what's his name? Josh. Yeah,
Josh Allen. Yep.
forget it.
Allen got almost shut out. I mean, during that game, and I'm just saying, I looked at it, I was
He
like,
didn't
wow,
know he didn't know if he was coming or going.
no, I mean, it almost looked like back when we played against the Bucks and Tom Brady shut us out right at the end. We didn't get a shot to even have our hand back on the ball during the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So I watched the game, and I was kind of disappointed. I was like, okay, do I want to play the Bengals? Do I want to play the Bengals or the Bills? I was going for the Bills, but
Is Larry Schnapp still online here? Larry, you still on?
yeah,
No?
Larry's still on.
See if he can answer.
Hey, Larry, you with us?
He's walking the dog.
He could be.
All right. Anyway.
All right. Well, again, thanks everybody, and be well. We'll see you in February.
All right.
Thanks, David.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.